yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for. To you, we can promise magic.
For a is my microphone even there? It is. For a cause worth dying for. I love the way she says dying. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another video. You just saw a new intro from Mr. Modius, who for a long time now has been doing these cool intros with me. For me, really. And yes, it says Guild Wars 3 Daily on it. I'm not calling this an episode of Guild Wars 3 Daily right now, necessarily. I do like the idea of doing it. And I love the idea of doing it 18 months straight as well. Even if it gets a bit dire, you know, in the middle there, where it's just a few questions on topics that we've answered already or whatever. It will be cool, you know. I like that idea. It's just, you know, I caught myself dreaming of it and thinking of doing it. And then I thought, hold on, you need to actually chew on this for a little while. Because you're going to have other plans. You're going to have to figure out ways to do it. Now, the thing is, the way that I'm making content at the moment... So before I start clowning around... and we get into the big topic today, I just want to make something very clear to everyone. This is re-clarify. I've said this a few times. I'm going to say it again. And I'll probably say it again in a few more videos as well. The way I'm making content at the moment is I'm going as easy as possible. They are lower quality. You're losing a bit of quality here. Rather than scripting, recording the audio, editing the audio, recording the footage, putting the footage on, rendering the video, checking it's okay, all of which takes a long time, fully uploading it, letting YouTube process it, let YouTube copyright check it, and then finally publishing it, right? Which is a long process. I can just click go live, do a video like this where it's initially live, and once it's done, I can then snip it down into the specific section. So we might be live for an hour, right? But there's 15 minutes, which is scripted. I'm actually following a set idea, and you know I have screenshots and things to go through, and I'll just snip it down to that, and then I can publish that as a full video. All right, and yeah, it's slightly lower quality. I don't deny that, but the time save is huge, and I like the idea of doing that. So I think a lot of my coverage is going to be in that format, and today is going to be no different. So we're going to try that out right now. And so since that's so easy, you know, it's not difficult to find a few minutes in the day to get up, say hello to everyone live for a bit, and then, you know, spin that into a Guild Wars 3 Daily episode. So maybe I don't know. We'll figure that bit out as we go forwards. But anyway, so that is my plan at the moment. That's what I've been doing. Now, yesterday I went live. I made 2 videos within that live chunk. It was like 3 hours we were live. We made 2 things that were supposed to get spun off, but I instantly hit a roadblock. You haven't seen those get spun off. So here's a roadblock. I have copyright claims on that video yesterday. Loads of them. If you follow me on Blue Sky, I've posted them so you guys can see. I don't know whether they're AI generated or what, but they're like songs apparently that appear while I'm discussing Doom, and it's like there's 4 copyright claims on it, and they're all like nothing artists with nothing. Look, I don't mean to judge people for having no viewership, right? But it's like one of them's called like the genre is booty pop. What is that? Popular music you shake your ass to? Twerk music? I don't know what. I didn't actually click or listen, right? But basically, there's booty pop. It's some guy. The artist is called Acid or something, and the video, the music that apparently I used, it's their copyright, has like 30 views. It's like a 32 view song, and then there's like another song that's got like 700 views, and there's another one that's got 1,000. I have a feeling that if I clicked them, they would be AI generated. But obviously, I haven't sampled any of that. Obviously, we haven't just rehosted that. Obviously, you know, it shouldn't be getting copyright claimed, but they're all fucking clamoring for it. And YouTube is set up in a way, right, where far be it from me to go on and bitch about the platform. Lord knows enough people do that in an attempt to garner sympathy from their audiences. But I'm doing it anyway. I'm bitching anyway. Yeah, basically what that means, the annoying thing is, I don't even care that much about the ad revenue. Like I say, I try to not even have many ads. I want you guys to go to Patreon. Please feel free to go to Patreon if you want to support the channel. But what it has meant is I'm not allowed to edit because I disputed it. I'm not allowed to edit the fucking thing now. I'm not allowed to snip out a section. So because these fraudulent pricks have come and put this claim in, until it's resolved, I can't spin it into mini videos. So the whole process has fallen apart. The video that I wanted to upload yesterday, what was it? We were going to do 2. One was a trailer reaction, which I was iffy on in the end. And what was the other one? The other one I really wanted to do, oh yeah, Guild Wars 2, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And so far, currently the only way to watch that is to go to YouTube, to go buried in the live tab, to look in there. Oh my god, so annoying. So look, I'm sorry about that, guys. I want visibility to be high. I don't want to force people to sit through 3 hours of me talking about my persona. All right, you don't have to do that. I get it. I do want to do those individual videos, but yeah, I've had this copyright claim horseshit. So we'll see. And what will happen in the future is if I get more fraudulent claims, these dickheads are going to win. Basically, they're going to win because I'm not going to claim. I'm not going to dispute it. I'm going to, well, I probably will do. What I'll do is I'll make sure I put the mini videos up first, and then I'll dispute it afterwards. That's probably the right way of doing it. So yeah. So anyway, so yeah, there'll be a little bit of waffle. You've already been listening to waffle. And then we're going to get into the main video. Today's going to be a big lore one. And I'm not doing a lore video because I feel obligated to do lore videos, because everyone's telling me to do lore videos. And this video is also not at all like my other lore videos. This is actually quite a shameless, quite a low production quality video I'm about to do. We're going to do Browsing the Wiki, the video. Ho 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 ho! Oh yeah, here I am on the timeline page. And what I want to do in this video is I want to get it very clear when exactly we're set and the kind of fun stuff that's happening on Tyrian at that point. So we'll talk through it, and we're going to look at the different sources that they have on the wiki, and we'll talk about how valid we think that they are, and it'll be good fun. There will be images, there will be stuff, but basically, yeah, I've got the GW2 timeline up, I've got the GW1 timeline up, we have the Prophecies manual up, and the Eye of the North one, but this is actually not really relevant. The leaflet or whatever, the final page for the Guild Wars 2 beta is here with the old Guild Wars 2 icon. But yeah, so we will get to that. Just a few things I want to run into before that as well is I just want to say hello to the live chat. And I have a couple of comments from the last couple of videos from you guys. But yeah, once more time, we're feeling a big applause to Mr. Modius. Check this intro out. Ready?
But if you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise magic.
Look at that fucking animation on the daily coming in. Did you notice it? This is the word daily. He nailed it. It looks totally like a part of the log. In the middle of the daily, it's got the 3 potatoes. Oh, this is going to be just like with EOD daily because there's a bit of dialogue in there. We're going to get really attached to that dialogue. There's the music. The music, I mentioned in the stream yesterday that the music that wasn't really striking to me. It kind of is, though. It's pretty good. Let's go to Ebonhawk and do our little tour again, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so very happy with that. Here, I'll show you one more time just so you can see the potatoes.
But if you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise magic.
See that shit? Incredible. Really, really, really cool. Of course, the other big conversation I've just learned about is apparently a lot of streamers, when that reveal came out where it says Guild Wars 3, they saw it as Chud Wars. They saw that it was miswritten, and I've been linked to one already in Discord. Apparently there's a bunch of streamers, and I've seen one of them doing it, where they're just, you know, generic, you know, streamers covering the event, and they just saw it as Chud Wars, and they're like, Chud Wars? What is this? So that's kind of like a little bit of the nickname at the moment. I guess that makes us the Chuds, guys. all right? Because we get online, we're discussing the game, we're arguing about the game. Chuds. You're no longer spuds, all right? You're the chuds. Oh no, that's really close. That actually fits quite closely as well. And now, I don't know if that intro is supposed to start with the word yearn. I think it starts with the word yearn, or that's just because I have it set up shit in OBS and it's cutting out the very start of the audio. I'll have to look into that. I should have looked into that ages ago. I need to look into that for my outro as well, frankly. There was one other thing I wanted to say about it. Shit. But I'm nervous about replaying it because we've just done it 3 times in a row. Oh, yeah, and the other, with the music. What if that's the music that's being copyrighted? Maybe they're claiming on that. Is that the booty pop? All right, let's get on our little tour here. So yeah, hello to live chat. Who have we got? Falar, Jamie, Malcure, it's good to see you. He's been typing to me. Justin, Crispy Greens, More BM, Coolboy Jake, Banjo, Galadriel. There's a lot of names here. A lot of names. WP's cadence is reminding me of Guild Wars 2's launch. You can't wait for more details and speculation. No, as long as there's things to say. What I've just never been interested in is grinding out content sort of cynically or superficially, even though I wasn't feeling the conversations. The fact is, guys, if I've talked about a topic enough times, I don't want to keep spinning my heels on it. I can't do the whole fucking strained, painful weekly podcast sort of formula sort of thing. I can't do it. You still watch my rant on the Icebreed Saga when they wiped out 2 Elder Dragons in a single fight? Oh, God. Yeah, that was a good one. Let's just say that in quotes, shall we? It was a really good video. What else? Where is this background from? Where's the full version? It looks really beautiful. Ah, you're talking about the thumbnail. I will show you that in a minute. It actually has basically nothing to do with anything that we're looking at here. But I will show you it. Wow, chat just moved really weirdly. You wonder if they'll pigeonhole us into a role again, or if it will be more open-ended this go around? Yeah, they'll probably have big things to say about the combat system and how exactly they wanna run that. Oh, Kyle here says, made it live. Shout out to WP for not doing content in that brief period before the announcement. That is integrity. Oh, that's great. That's brilliant. You tell me I have integrity. Do that more. Galadriel says he likes being informed and making content as evergreen as possible. That's true. But the reason I mean, that's not the reason I didn't talk about Guild Wars 3 when I knew it was Guild Wars 3. Is because it was an outright lie. And I have to be very careful when I talk about this stuff. Like, I just don't think that content creators should lie for views, like blatantly do that. And so, yeah, there's no fucking way. And it is a lucrative idea because as soon as you know it's coming, whether that's because you were told through official channels or you're buddies with someone, payola, that kind of shit, right? Like, to start ramping up conversation about it early and get your videos out about it early is very lucrative because it's not just about the window before that, but it's after the announcement happens. There's going to be a buzz, and people will go to search engines, and they will type Guild Wars 3, and they'll see whoever was there in recent history with Guild Wars 3 in their titles and their thumbnails and stuff, but also has had a few days to establish itself with the baseline of views and stuff. So it's just cynical, corporate, lying shit. I could look. As soon as I found out, I was like, I'm not doing any videos, especially not like live videos where there is a kind of if you're live streaming, there's a real sense of like back and forth and conversational sort of tone to it that should be legitimate, right? As legitimate as you can possibly do it. Obviously, embargoes exist and NDAs exist, and you have to skirt around some topics. But man, like, yeah, so anyway, yeah, that's why I did that. It wasn't about evergreenness. I actually think that. Like what we did yesterday, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In a lot of ways, that's not evergreen because who's going to care eventually? But some people will. I like doing stuff like that for posterity. So it wasn't about that. But you are right. And look, with this idea of likes to doing the content as when he knows as much as there is to know. For like a formal LP, sure. Like if you look at my Zeus series, I didn't want to go put out a shoddy, half-informed Zeus series because the game's like 20 years old. and that you can know everything, right? And you should probably do your best to try and put that info out there. But when you're in a speculative, excited period before a game comes out, I mean, no one's expecting everyone to be fully informed. So I don't really mind that either in the context of Guild Wars 3. We're here to speculate, we're here to have fun and just wonder, right? Like, so. Anyway. Boots' new news video is amazing. Yeah, Boots did a good little video, guys. Obviously, subscribe to Boots if you haven't. I'll find some collabs, some things to do with him. I watched that. It was very fun to see a bit of Boots from a bit of news from Boots. He has a brilliant theory about how Guild Wars 3 is the best thing, is the best trilogy ever because it's a trilogy of trilogies of trilogies. I'm spoiling the joke here. You guys could just go watch it. It's not very long. It's like you know, 5 minutes, less than that, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. In all caps, look at this man's integrity. All right, let's move on from this. You're making me cringe now, and it takes a lot to make me cringe. So a couple of little screenshots. This is pretty cool. Let's get into some real content. Turtle here. Maybe my persona should be a turtle. I was told it can't be... Oh, I think I have a screenshot of it, actually. Hey, WP. Fun little detail that I noticed about the new teaser image and maybe more confirmation that it's showing ore. And he's talking specifically about the concept art that I was sent, right? With the man in gold raising his sword. If you check out Jahai Bluffs, where the Displaced Towers POI is, there is an event where you can see the humans fighting the Char. Hopefully we all remember that. I mean, look, I have to assume, by the way, at this point, there are some people watching me that haven't been keeping up with Guild Wars 2, and that's going to be quite tricky in a minute when we get into the lore. But try to bear with me as we go through that. Anyway, for those who do remember Jahai Bluffs, one of the best releases of all time, in my opinion, there's an event where you can see the Char fighting the humans. The humans are wearing pretty similar armor to the one in the teaser image. Orion Soldier, and he's got a picture there. And they are wearing gold and blue. So I don't know whether Arenanet specifically looked back at that to reference it. It would be cool if they did. Or it's just because in general they've always had this golden, divine, sort of gilded feel and vibe for ore. And naturally, therefore, both interpretations of it have been similar. But I think it's worth going to Jahai at the moment, actually, and just checking it out. So a quick little recap for you guys, or those who missed it. During this part of the story, there were like time-space distortions going on as the world was breaking down because we were killing elder dragons and not allowing their magic to be recycled in a decent way. And so there's one of like Primordial Maguma. And there was one really interesting one. There was one of a mysterious place up here. There's this one here, though, the Displaced Towers. And what it actually is it's ore, guys. There is a small slice of ancient ore here. Now, but the thing is, this was not an entire release. This was just a small section of a map in a release where Arenanet were giddy and excited, and they sought to do something. So they didn't have a big art budget. They didn't... So a lot of it's basically assets and stuff you've already seen in Guild Wars. Right, and it still looks a bit ruined and fucked up, to be honest. And you get this old sort of semi-sepia tone to it all, so it looks a bit weird. But this is ore in the year 1071, I guess? 1071? This is ore a year after pre-searing Ascalon. This is ore during the gap between pre-searing and post-searing Ascalon in Guild Wars 1. This is ore when the Char attacked. This is all right before Vizier Kilbron sunk the place. And they just killed the Orion soldiers there. So there you go. So you can see the Char win, and it just endlessly cycles. These are all Flame Legion, as you can see. And this is, by the way, the actual Vizier's Tower, just like a little bit better built. And you can see it's supposed to be kind of gold. So look here, I don't know, do we hear any Orion voice acting here? We heard some Char. It sounds like a ghost. Anyway, this is the closest we've actually ever seen ore. Now, I don't want to use the phrase in its prime. You could say this is ore in its prime, but it's not, all right? The thing with ore, guys, is like... And why it's so captivating and why it's a good part of the world building, right? And why the setting is rich. We've never actually been there when people have been living there and it's been thriving. In Guild Wars 1, it was crushed and destroyed. With the exception of Pre, but you couldn't leave Pre at that point anyway. And in Guild Wars 2, obviously, a dragon had risen it from the depths after 250 years, and no one was living there either, right? The closest we've seen to civilization in ore is the goddamn Sylvari in Siren's Landing. Speaking of which, shall we go over there? I Haven't been there in my coverage yet. No, 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 no! Why? Why? Okay, here we go. Oh god, I might turn off Tekit's map stuff in a minute. We'll see. You know, it's the Sylvari trying to bring life, and this is such great concept art here, isn't it, as well? So anyway, the thing that's really rich about ore, right? It can be, because we haven't seen it in game, it can be easy to muddy, right? But I would say that there are 3 distinct eras to ore's history that we know. 3 distinct ones. Well, maybe 4. Okay. Well, let's say 5. So let's go back in time. Let's say 6. 6. I promise, I'm not memeing. 6. Okay. Here are the 6 phases. Phase number 6. So phase number 1 is today, right? Or post-Dragon Rising. Guild Wars 2 Ore. That's phase 6. Phase 5 is Ore underwater. This is largely the space between the 2 games, between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, but a bit of Guild Wars 1 as well. You've got the novel Sea of Sorrows. If you guys are interested in Ore, the opening act-ish of Sea of Sorrows takes place at that point. So that's phase 2 out of 6. It's underwater. Phase 3 is what I would call the Twilight phase, all right? And this is just WP's name for it, right? And what I mean by the Twilight phase, that's what we just saw. The last days, the dawn. What's Glint's line at the start of the last day dawns on the Kingdom of Ascalon? The last day dawns on the Kingdom of Ore. I would call it the Twilight phase. What the Twilight phase is before the Char attack. Yes, there are humans living on Ore. Yes, there is buildings and stuff on Ore, and it's a civilization, but it's not. It's not in its prime, right? It's winding down. The gods haven't been there for over 1,000 years. There's been no gods there for 1,000 years. There's just people. There's just the nation of Ore. And, just as you had Ore and Ascalon and Kryta, and they were on fairly equal standings. They were a little bit more magically inclined, I think we're led to believe. But, this period is this is when the Guild Wars happen and all of that, right? So that is the 3rd phase, the Twilight era, right? And you could set a game in that period of time. You really could, leading up to the Char attack and stuff, and I think it would be really rich and interesting. They have Ara as the city still, and they keep it clean and preserved, but the gods aren't there. I don't even know if people live there. It's just like a religious thing. It's a weird, quiet, almost fallen feeling ancient place, right? Very cool. So anyway, that's phase 3. Phase 4 is when the gods are actually living there. No. Phase 4 is like the chaos of the gods leaving, right? So that is the year 0, around the year 0, the year 1 BE, and all that shit, okay? So I'd call that phase 4. Phase 5 would be the hundreds of years where gods and humans lived at peace, but the Bloodstone chaos hadn't happened, and the Abaddon shit wasn't going on. That would be phase 5. And finally, phase 6, and phase 5 is Guild Wars 3. And finally, phase 6 is before the gods even got there. Before the gods even got there, where it's completely wild, untamed lands. There's the spirits of the wild. People like Isgaran and Sidony are familiar with it, and the ancient races are familiar with it. Zaitan had come here and fallen asleep. That's phase 6. You could even say there's like a phase fucking 7 if you want, right? Which is the previous Elder Dragon Rising. Okay, so that's to give you a sense of how much lore and history there is, right? And it's easy to just say, oh, destroyed Ore and then living Ore, but no, man, there's a lot of shit going on as we talk about this stuff. So yeah, we're looking at Ore in that little time distortion, but we're looking at Ore during Guild Wars 1's day, during Pre-Series Day. Very, very recent history, that is. And it's not necessarily representative. So anyway, going back to that screenshot, just because we see someone in a gilded golden armor, does it really mean that that's what the designs are that they're going to use for Guild Wars 3? I don't necessarily know that that's true. They've got so much more they can expand on. We're hearing about, what are they called? The Veil Wardens? Is that right? Veil Wardens? Veil Guardians? What was the term? Something like that. Yeah, so Malcure in chat says phase 6 life before magic. You could break that down like pre and post magic, right? I would say that they're 2 different phases of Ore in its prime. magic is a big topic here because it's like, okay, if there's no bloodstone magic, is there magic? And I would say there is. You get it from the spirits of the wild. There's the idea of Canthons having magic and all that shit. So, all right, anyway. Right, what else we got here? Believe it or not, this is not actually the lore section. Okay, this is the thumbnail for today's video. It's completely unrelated to the content of today. It's completely unrelated, except that it's Guild Wars lore. And I just thought it looked fancy. What I really wanted was like one of those really fancy historical timeline looking things. And I did like a Google image search, and it was all right, but it, you know, it was too Earth, it was too human, and all that. So, but yeah, what this is, guys, is an early. I think that's the Guild Wars 1, like alpha or beta. I don't know, one or the other. Maps where people could go to like conventions and play some early missions. So that's actually nothing to do with Ore. That is the Kingdom of Ascalon. That's post-Searing Ascalon in an early configuration, and I just think it's a really beautiful map. You know, it's got like the whole tea-stained look on it. You can see the name of the various locations. Tournament to the top right, sort of the precursor to the Tomb of the Primeval Kings, I think, which then obviously moved to the Battle Isles. You can see Kylo is written there. That's the original name for what became Ascalon City. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it is actually still technically a place in lore, right? Like, when you look into the backstory of Devonna and the Guild Wars and her father, you get Kylo. They talk still like Kylo is a place out there somewhere. You would have thought that Guild Wars 2 would reference it somewhere. I don't know whether it did. And then you've got the numbered ones. They're the missions. The Perilous North, the Walls of Ascalon. And you can see that's actually... That eventually became known as the Great Northern Wall, and then Fort Rannoch, and then the Ruins of Sirmia, and then Stormcaller became Nalani Academy. And you can see Nalani's there, Rin's there. It's a good map. I love fantasy maps, but there's a weird thing these days where because people use the same stamps and the same templates for the mountain ranges and the cities and the hills and the shrubs, they all tend to look very, very, very samey. And when I make my own fantasy maps, I'm always like, it doesn't feel like mine. So then you have to get into this huge game of making your own stamps, which now requires more artistic talent than I have. But anyway, yeah, so that's just Ascalon. And it just fills me with excitement because, you know, Guild Wars 3 is going to have a new world map. Very exciting. Right, what else we got here? A couple of comments here. This was a great one. From the Angry J. On Ratapa 10, there's actually a level 3, 63... Well, okay, I'll talk to you guys about that first. So, just before we leave, check it out. Siren's Landing. The gods. Look at this plaza here. So, who have we got? It's Abaddon. Oh, this is just Abaddon's reliquary. So, they're all Abaddon. Abaddon with the scroll, with the mask. It's weird to think we could come back here in the next one, right? And, you know, Guild Wars 2 is pretty gorgeous, man. I'm in a weird place now where, you know, the internet makes us all hysterical nut jobs, wackos, that things are either amazing or they're shit, and there's no room for middle ground. I feel that in myself now. It's like, oh my god, Guild Wars 3 looks so good. Guild Wars 2 looks like dog shit by comparison. Ooh, Guild Wars 2, smelly, old, not good. But then I play it and I'm like, yeah, look at this. Not bad. Anyway, Siren's Landing is one of my favourite maps. Of course it is. It's the one time they ever came back to Ore over all these years and had a little bit of time and budget for it. Absolutely incredible. Though, of course, it was very laggy on original release with the whole Siren songs and stuff. Speaking of which, what about the Siren songs? Do you guys think that there'll be singing and stuff involved in Guild Wars 3? One of the classes will be like a bard or a songstress or something? Because that was like a big deal here. Let's remind ourselves real quick. Where are we going? We're going to Ancient Magic. Siren of Ore. Whenever a Chancel of Echoes appears during combat, interact with it to acquire a random dirge. Perform the dirges to help allies hinder foes. And these lagged the fuck out of the game, didn't they? Dirge of Grenth, Melandri, Dwayne, and Balthazar. There's no dirge of Abaddon. There's no dirge of Doom. But I wonder. That's an interesting thought, isn't it? You think Troubadour? They'll just go with Troubadour again? Oh my god, I'm getting donations and shit. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, hold on. Josh Warner became a member. A full-blown member. Yeah, just to advertise for myself shamelessly, guys. If you are on for the ride with me here, alright? If you're thinking of getting back into watching some WP content as we count down to Guild Wars 3, as we cover, you know, Reforged and all this stuff coming up, Because remember, there was a hint that there's something coming for Reforged. If you want to do that, if you become just a straight up member here on YouTube, you'll get like these little potato icons that grow over time. You know, you get, first they're regular, and then they go silver, and then they go gold, and you collect more and more. I don't know, it's just a fun little thing, and it supports me. So, yeah, thanks very much, Joshua, for becoming a straight-up member there. Next, we've got Get Reed, who says, I know you're not a lore guy anymore, but today's stream title gave me a huge smile. Listen, look. Thanks for the 10 euros. I never considered myself just to be a lore guy. Never. And I know you might think that that's just me being indignant or whatever, but I really don't. Look, if you look at my content, I never, not for one week, did just lore. My first ever series was an Iron Man solo playthrough with prophecies. It focused on the gameplay as much as it did on the lore. And that was the same in factions and the same in Nightfall. I think just what happened was people like a British accent talking about the story. And a lot of people weren't paying attention to the lore. You know, the people who were paying attention to the lore were like no-lifing it on the forums, and they weren't like sharing that passion in any very communicable way with the rest of the world. Or they were editing on the wiki. And look, these guys are brilliant, right? Even though some of them get quite salty. And, you know, people like me have always relied... We're going to be relying on the wiki in just a minute. But it just meant that people sort of latched onto that. But just because people latched onto that, that didn't mean that I ever felt any... Honestly, felt that much more passion for the lore than anything else. I just wanted to share cool shit about the game. Oh, here's a cool mystery. And I know about the lore, so here, I'm going to talk about the mystery. But yeah. So you say I'm not a lore guy anymore. It's just that I'll do as much lore as I used to do, and it depends what I'm passionate for. That's it. I'm actually a pro gamer. No, I'm definitely not that. Though I am still sitting on my Ura LM kill footage. And that will prove my pro gamerness. I've still got to make that video. Anyway, right, what were we going to do? We were going to do something. I was going to move to another map. Oh yeah, Rata 10. Let's go to Rata 10. Govoran waypoint. Lore guy? No. Pausing the video every 5 seconds to talk to 5 minutes guy. Alright, look, I can tell. I'll take that. Look, I get enthusiastic. Alright. And when I get back to FF14, buckle up, kiddos. Because there'll be a lot more of that. Actually, there'll probably be less because I'll be blind on the next one. But when we get to Endwalker, buckle up. Endwalker 2024, the dream is alive. It's definitely still 2024, right? Oh yeah, we had more donations. Sorry, I'm getting all distracted here, man. $2, 2 Canadian dollars from Dan Patrick. Thanks, man. What, WP, if Guild Wars 3 combat is not like Guild Wars 1, it will be trash IMO. I don't know. I think that's short-sighted. I think that there's a million different combat systems out there, and they can all be interesting in their own ways. I hate this. I hate how corporate and bureaucratic and soft and fucking empty, therefore, what I'm about to say is, right? But there are pros and cons to every approach. You know, it's very difficult to foresee all the victories and all the pitfalls. And I hate comments like that because they don't get us anywhere, right? But it's sort of true. You know, there are things I really like about the Guild Wars 2 combat system, and they're, like in terms of the animations, at a solo scale, not when you're in a group, right? The responsiveness, the variety, the movement baked into them quite often. I think that they're all really, really good and really interesting. But there's huge step backs as well. I believe that it's unnecessarily complex a lot of the time. I hate hidden cooldowns. I hate having to guess what's available. I hate the rotation mindset that WoW players and other MMO players basically brought to the game. And the fact that it's actually the definitively best way to understand and play the game. You know, this horrible process of, okay, I have to spend a few hours, like, practicing on the golem like a job to learn my new rotation every time there's a balance pack. That's such an interference for casual play. But it's like mandatory. It fucking sucks, man. So, you know, and likewise with Guild Wars 1, you know, Guild Wars 1's so static and binary, and the animations are all really shit, and the balance is no better. Honestly, it's not. For a little brief periods while it was being developed, it was, but, you know, the Mesmer meta is not some great thing. You know, and so many facets of what could be interesting about Guild Wars 1 aren't because of the balance. So, you know, unfortunately, it is like a pro and con thing. And I've enjoyed... You know what game I fucking love? Do you know a game that I love the combat of? Or an RPG I love the combat of? Vampire Survivors. I fucking love that game. Have you guys played Vampire Survivors? And what is that game? Do I need 25 hidden cooldowns, the vast majority of which are hidden at any one moment? Did I have to go to a third-party website to be told by Giga Nerd mathematically the best way to approach it? No, I got in there and I started fucking bombing monsters. And I started picking up perks, and I started scaling, and it was fun. And it's like such a primitive, simple system, you know? And yeah, I like action RPGs on console where you get to button mash a bit. I mean, generally less so, all right? And that is the fear with Guild Wars 3. But, you know, like, to say it has to be Guild Wars 1 or it's trash is just mental. It's mental. Sorry, that's so short-sighted and close-minded. There could be loads of fucking good combat systems. How about we wait until they tell us what they're doing? Yeah? That's my opinion on that. Thanks for the $2. Speaking of $2, this time we got $1.99 from Winding Twilight. Bring back Guild Wars Mysteries. Again, like, if I feel it because it's really exciting and interesting, sure. But otherwise, no. The Arvin with $5. Thank you. Loving all the content. Question: if they were to release new novels between now and the release, I think that's what you're saying, what would you hope they cover in them? Really good question. Just ancient ore stuff, I guess. I don't know. I don't know whether I would want that, though. I thought Sea of Sorrows was really good. I thought Ree wrote the best book, by far. I have a very low opinion of Ghost of Ascalon. I've always described Ghost of Ascalon this way, and I'm very sorry to the author to do this. But it felt like... and look, I've done an audiobook version of that, so... you know, I'm a fan of it on some levels, obviously. But my overarching opinion has always been that they got a guy to write it who wanted to be a fantasy writer and needed a paycheck. It wasn't that he loved Tyria or Guild Wars or understood anything about the franchise. It was just another fantasy setting on a conveyor belt that he had to hit a word quota for. And because there wasn't that passion and that love there for it, he just bogged it down with loads and loads and loads of fight scenes and kind of treated it like a comic book, which to me was just really shallow, really unengaging, really boring. The combat was so boring. There's only so many ways you can tell me that someone's slashing at a monster. And it was like, you're just running down the clock, man. I want to live in Tyria. I want to speak to Tyrians. I want to watch Tyrians talk to each other. I want to see how these people live. I want to deal with the history. I want to immerse myself into a fantasy scenario. And it was just so... And the basic story as well was very, like, adolescent. Like, oh, what a surprise. The Char isn't a monster? Wow. There's a betrayal. I don't know. So, look, I'm a bit of a snob about that. It's funny. Malchior's in chat, and it's really weird. I very distinctly remember that book coming out, and I remember Malchior's review of it on the Guild Wars 2 Guru forums. I remember Malchior, and he's there in chat. He can feel free to disagree with me. He loved it. I remember people in the forum thread bitching about it before I'd read it, and I remember he said, I think his exact words were, "I don't read many novels like this." And so maybe it's just my worldview because I don't read many novels like this. But I found it thoroughly entertaining. I remember him saying that. I'm like 99% sure I remember that. How weird is that? Remembering a random forum post from 16 years ago. He says, you do, what the fuck, because I don't. I don't know. Has anyone crawled the Guild Wars 2 Guru forums? Are they online somewhere? I'm sure that's what you said. I'm sure. I'm so sure. When I say 99, I'm not fucking around. Right, okay, anyway. So, yeah, sorry. Thank you for those donations, guys. And by the way, if they are good, maybe I should get back into the audiobooking. The great tragedy is, talk about not being a lore guy, right? You want to hear how I'm not a lore guy? I read Ghost of Ascalon because Guild Wars 2 wasn't out yet, and I was excited. I read Edge of Destiny because Guild Wars 2 was out, and I was excited. Sorry, by the way, everything I just criticized about Ghost of Ascalon, I actually meant Edge of Destiny. Oh, no! Also, it's Matt Forbeck, isn't it? Wasn't that the guy? Oh, it's Edge of Destiny. That was my review for Edge of Destiny. Ghost was alright. Ghost was okay. I'm talking about Edge of Destiny. Edge of Destiny was full of fucking combat. Oh my god, it was boring. Oh my god, Edge of Destiny sucked. Yeah, sorry. Ghost was alright. Ghost was alright. Anyway, I read those two. Ree didn't get Sea of Sorrows out. Ree didn't get Sea of Sorrows out till after Guild Wars 2 was out. And I was reading it and I was loving it. And she loved the setting. She cared about the franchise. She had good character writing. She kept the focus intimate and didn't bog it down with action all the time. She wrote a rock solid fucking book. Her hand I would shake, right? But I never finished her book. Talk about me not being a lore guy. The game was out at that point. I got like 2/3 through it, halfway through it. I got to the point where they were in some dock with like a wind gin or something and I stopped. And it wasn't because of the quality. It was just because I flaked out. I straight up flaked out because I wanted to go play Ascalon Catacombs or whatever. So I've always wanted to do the audiobook version of that, but blind. The end of Edge of Destiny was the best part. That's true. The very last chapter where the group is split up and you see what they're doing is excellent. And I've read excerpts from that many times over the years. Oh my god, guys, this is becoming a totally different kind of video right now because you're doing so many donations with questions and I'm obligated to answer them. So let's keep going, I guess. We'll deal with Rat Pretend in a second. If they were to... so DHD Troll with $5. Thank you, guys. If you had to guess, do you think they will untie skills from weapons in Guild Wars 3? I just want to be a star for LE DPS and still be viable. I do think that. I do think that. Why? Because it's what everyone wants. Because it was a big pain point going into Guild Wars 2. Objective or not, right? And I see all the benefits. I see what they were going for with the weapons tied to... skills tied to weapons thing. But it was always one of the most controversial things about this game. When you strip away all of the moment-to-moment controversies, like... Oh my god, the Balance Team leak had their own Discord and... one of them admitted that he nerfed Mesmerax just because he doesn't like it. When you strip away all those kinds of controversies and topics of the day, one of the big real things that people never liked about this game was that, especially for Guild Wars 1 players. And I think Arenanet sees that. You know, I think the one thing that we should all take a bit of heart from with this Guild Wars 3 announcement is they didn't do anything stupid or outlandish or like just completely at odds with what the community wants. There is nothing in their communication, in their prioritization or anything that suggests they have no fucking clue what they're doing. They know what people are saying. They know what they want. And for that reason, I'm pretty confident, yeah, they'll get rid of the... I think it's going to be really... I think this game's going to be much smaller scale. I think it's going to be small parties. So there was a quote, by the way, between this stream and the last stream, where some lady... Can I ask for some help, guys? Can you guys find me an excerpt of that Ion 2 quote, please? Can someone do that? Put it in WP content chat in Discord, and I'll pull it. And we'll talk about it in a second. And anyway, there's a few reasons I'll get to in a second. I think it's going to be smaller scale. I think there's going to be less for skills. I think because it's a console game. I think they're going to try and bring the complexity back through context, i.e. momentum. So if you're running fast, fire grab does something different to if you're moving slow, shit like that, I don't know. And I think you have less skills. I don't think you'll get 8. I think you'll probably get 6, 4 to 6. But there'll be a lot of them to pick. And yeah, I think you'll get them out in the world and stuff. I think it'll be Guild Wars 1 stuff. You'd love a video about an ore bestiary, gorilla hype? Yeah, the gorillas, that's a really good point. I haven't mentioned that in any of my content yet. Yeah, gorillas are like kind of the ore creature. If they're going to do an emblem for ore, you know, like Scotland does the unicorn, they should definitely do the gorilla for ore. Definitely. And again, doesn't that suggest an arid, sort of hot sort of climate? I don't look at those fields of green in that trailer and think, ah, yes, gorillas. CQR3T says, whoa, with the 20 SEK, thank you so much. I remember drawing a Guild Wars 2 countdown potato for you. Do you? I still have all of those. I could literally get those on screen right now. I won't, because we've got enough going on. Which one did you? Actually, well, maybe I will. No, I can't. I can't. I wonder which one you drew. I still have those. Yeah, that was fun stuff, wasn't it? Wow, that's cool, guys. I love this shit. It makes me feel like I haven't aged 10 years. And my bones haven't decayed. And I'm still a youthful little boy. Little IRL story for you, by the way. So I did try to go get my coins today. I popped into my local nationwide branch. I said, "Good sir, good morning, good afternoon, sir. May I interest you in a proposition?" I said. "I would like 350 of your great British pounds, but I would like them in a very peculiar denomination. Would this be something you're able to facilitate? What I would like is a 250-pound bulk bag of 50-pence pieces in your finest sterling." "Oh, no, and I would also like 100 pounds in 10-pence pieces." And he said, "Oh, I'm very sorry, sir, but we don't do business accounting here. I'm afraid that we don't order coin bags. Most of our currency is in notes. I'm afraid you'll need to open a business account with one of the other major branches in town, and they'll be able to acquiesce to your request." I said, "Indeed, sir. Many thanks and have a fine day." And I left. So yeah, I couldn't get any coins. I couldn't begin the hobby. So that's a bit of a setback. I'll see if I can get a business account. It's annoying because I just set up a business account, but not. I did it like a digital one, not an actual branch in the UK. Guild Wars 3 double classes or no thoughts? Oh, I mean, I certainly do have thoughts. Some of these question guys are topics for entire streams, entire episodes of Guild Wars 2 Daily. Guild Wars 3 Daily. Fuck. My English accent is very good. Do you practice? Every day. I took an accent class. I'm trying to get my accent back. Here you go. No, okay, someone posted the Ion 2 quote in chat, but what I want to do is get a screenshot. I'm going to go to Discord. Let's see if the faithful spuds have anything for me. Guild Wars 2 content help. WP content help. Oh, there you go. They've posted it. Here we go. All right, I'll just take this. Thank you, guys. All right, let me grab this. Let me grab this. Let me grab this. Let me grab this. All right. So check this out here, guys. This is quite interesting. This was news between yesterday and today. I had the weirdest feeling, like just browsing Reddit yesterday, because the front page kept popping up with shit from Guild Wars 3. The Guild Wars 3 sub. And it was like, I was like, fuck, man. I streamed for like 3 hours today, and I feel like I'm already out of date. Stuff's moving this fast. So PC Gamer. So by the way, there was a PC Gamer like showcase thing that I watched last night. I've now watched the Cozy Games showcase. I think it was called Cozy Games. I've watched the SGF. By the way, I didn't watch the Microsoft Day at SGF, but I did see the trailers and the footage for the new Halo. And people are bitching about that so much, man. But fuck those people. Fuck them. That looks amazing. Yeah, Sergeant Johnson has a different voice. Big fucking whoop. Who gives a shit? It looks good. They just can't get over the fact that there's no multiplayer. But you've got the fucking MCC. You've got Infinite. I don't know, dude. I thought it looked good. And I'm interested in the new levels. Whatever. Anyway, that was cool. But then there was a PC one as well. I wishlisted so many games last night on Steam. It was with Day 9. And a lady I don't know. And it was really cringy. Like, it was like, as a friend of mine said, she said it was Gen X. It's very Gen X. It was like a sitcom set in 1996 or something. And, you know, all the little bumpers they did, all the little cuts back and forth, it was them clowning around in the cringiest way. And it was like, I could see what they were going for, but the internet was not happy with it at all. People were just utterly humorless about it. They were like, this isn't so cringe it's funny. This isn't deliberately cringe, therefore it's funny. This is just fucking cringe, please stop. People were merciless about it. They really, and people were saying they do it every year as well, and just basically being misers. I love that word. That always makes me think of the show Phone Jacker. where he's playing as George Agudagudagudagwingo, and an old man picks up the phone and he says, "Sir, why are you such a miser?" Anyway, here are the games I wishlisted just yesterday. Into the Wind, Locator, The Search for Abigail Lidari. That game looked sick. That was done by... I played a game called the Case of the Golden Idol. Amazing little puzzle game. Check that shit out. The Curse of the Golden Idol. It was so fun. A genre I've never experienced. Fantastic. Anyway, that's their new game. Vampire the Masquerade, Eternal Whispers. I don't know much about Vampire the Masquerade, but that's Disco Elysium Vampire Edition. It is the same UI, it is the same dialogue, it is the same dice rolling, it is the same top-down perspective, it is the same art style. It is a vampire version of Disco. Oh my god. Genre officially is an RPG, CRPG, vampires, isometric, lore-rich. So good. I got a game called About Fishing, which looks really grim and melancholic and macabre. Do you know what? Why am I doing this? I'm just going to show you. Here's my Steam wishlist here for you all. Yeah, there's someone furious right now. I'm here for timeline law. Stop talking to me about your Steam wishlist. Ah! Here you go. Look, Into the Wind, and that was like a cozy, cute sort of. It looked like Professor Layton. I played Professor Layton, and I played like. Are they all French? I played a French one. But that's like you get a motorbike that turns into a plane and you fly around. Locator, The Search for Abigail is The Curse of the Golden Isle. Vampire the Masquerade, Eternal Whispers. About Fishing looked really grim and just like just sad and mysterious and strange. And that was very good. Dave the Diver. I heard that was a meme game. There was a new trailer that came out for some expansion. That's a meme game I missed. You can see you can actually already buy that. I missed that. Does anyone know Dave the Diver? But so yeah, I might play that. To Kill a God. Fuck. Oh, that was like a very cool, like, again, a bit Vampire Survivor-y. Sort of very rapid, bullet helly, roguelike-y, like blasting RPG type game. That looked cool. Rivage. What was it that captured me about Rivage? Oh yeah, Rivage was like a really high quality AAA looking fucking spacey game. And it was recommended to me because it's like Blueprints, apparently. I doubt it is. Blueprints was like possibly my game of the year last year. Blueprints was fucking insane. And then here, what's that? Ooh! Ooh! So those are all the games I did from the PC gaming thing. The rest of them didn't really look very good to me. Oh, what's that game at the top there, everybody? What is that? Chud Wars 3? Oh, Chud Wars 3 TM. Action, adventure, MMORPG, 3D, third person. Look at that. Look at that. And that's the facet of which we're speaking about today, guys. And those other ones are older. Don't Starve, the new Don't Starve sequel, if you guys haven't seen that shit. Don't Starve elsewhere. Light No Fire, of course. Grounded 2 is on my wish list. I haven't bought because apparently it's not reviewing well. Witch Spire, and then of course Fable. I actually missed... Wait, I can add Fable to my cart? Wait, is Fable out? No, it's not. That must be pre-purchase. Anyway, yeah, sorry, there you go. Okay, yes, I'm getting distracted. Who was that dropped that message? Because I have you to blame. How did we get from I remember drawing a Guild Wars 2 countdown potato for you to that? I don't know. Combat mounting definitely seems to be a hint for Guild Wars 3. It does indeed. Well, no, I don't know whether that's true. I mean, it's just a natural thing that they could do, right? To improve the quality of life and stuff of the mounts. What else we got? Dan Patrick with the $2 Canadian. Oh yeah, Guild Wars 2 double class, Guild Wars 3 double classes or no? Oh yeah, I remember how we got distracted. Yeah, I don't know if they'll do multiple professions. That's my answer to that. Moving on. All right, there was this. Fuck's sake, I'm in combat again. Can't we just have peace? Spiders. Do we know no peace? There will be peace. There will be peace. Oh, what is it Theoden says to Saruman in the movies? Something about gizzards. Yes, we will have peace, he said now in a clear voice. We will have peace when you and all your works have perished. And the works of your Dark Master. That's not it. I want Jackson's line. We shall have peace when you answer for the burning of the Westfold and the children that lie dead there. No, that's still not it. Google. Whatever. Okay, look, so there was an interview, an Ion interview, in this PCGamer.com article. Ion 2 producer says it's good to have friendly competition with Guild Wars 3. And by the way, I don't know if I put this on the record just yet. I just want to say I was a bit unfair the other day when I mentioned noticing the Ion 2 trailer and thinking how much more polished and rich it looked than Guild Wars 3's trailer. I said that, and that is how I felt, but people pointed out I didn't know this. Ion 2 is already out. Of course it looks further along. It's already fucking out, WP. Of course it looks more along. What that trailer was, it was for the English localization. So sorry about that. Yeah. And it wasn't a teaser, was it? It was more of a gameplay thing. Anyway, so within this interview, the Ion 2 producer is doing, press about Ion 2. And so NCSoft Chief Business Officer Sung Uk Bak, I think that's how we say it, says, I can't reveal too much because Guild Wars 3 is still under development, he said. Oh, why do I think that was a lady's name? Anyway, but there is a directional difference. Ion 2 focuses more on massive numbers of players, like realm versus realm. The more users, the more fun. Whereas Guild Wars 3 is more about segments of small groups playing that makes the gameplay more fun. That's all I can say at the moment. I read that terribly. There you have it. So, as I've said to you guys as well in recent days, I'm not going to miss meta events. I'm just not. I want to give you all a little thought experiment here, just for a second, okay? Like, we can talk about the tangibles. We can talk about low FPS. We can talk about network lag. We can talk about the fact the gameplay is ridiculously simplified because you can't really ask people to do things too complex when they're banding together with strangers. People just rage at each other, right? Or they bully each other out of instances, and it creates all this friction that Arenanet isn't all about. There are a lot of tangible things that are wrong with the World Boss format, okay? And then because it can't be engaging gameplay, you now run into issues with the rewards, and it becomes loot pinatas, and then you have skill effect issues where things just become strobing light shows that don't look impressive, and individual player contributions don't feel good. There's all of those very, very, very good reasons why Zergs aren't great, right? They're just not. But nonetheless, people will say, well, I like them. I don't care. I like them, right? And that's fine. I want to give you guys a thought experiment. I want to be a little bit more theoretical here, okay? In my left hand, I have a massive Zerg boss battle against Jormungandr, the Ice Worm. And it has a player cap of 800 players. In my right hand, I have an epic boss battle against the Great Jungle Worm. It has a player cap of 400 players. Which is better? The answer to this question, to me, is I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. They're both messy, ludicrous blobs of insanity that are both broken into raw loot pinata territory. Unless you have an insane engine that can render all 400 or 800, which I believe in that, okay? If you have an engine, if you have a format where you can see the difference and you can feel the difference, now we're talking, right? Watching all those 800 players flowing like water across Battlefield versus 400 players, and if you can feel the scaling, fine. Guild Wars 2 is not that game. Guild Wars 3 is not that game if it's on the Unreal Engine. It's not, all right? Listen, guys, I fucking love transfer mice, all right? I get what it's like to have a lot of people and, But the thing is, right, It doesn't matter for us, 400 to 800. So what is this? What does this teach us? This teaches us that there is a line, just fundamentally somewhere, there is a line where it's indistinguishable how many extra players you add. There is a point where you get diminishing returns on how many extra players you add. Okay? So now that we know that that isn't a fixed thing, where is the line? A lot of you guys are going to instinctively say, oh, it's 100. But that's just because you feel like 100 feels like a nice round number. Or you're going to say, oh, it's 50. Or you're going to look at like current world versus world caps or current map caps in PvE. And it's like, well, do you really feel it? Or is it just kind of what we settled on? So what's wrong with Arenanet shrinking the scale? Maybe the line is a lot smaller than you thought. Maybe the enjoyment you get out of a 10-man fight is very, very similar to what you get out of a 20-man fight. It just becomes an annoying question of logistics and FPS and all that sort of stuff. So that's the argument. That's just like the conceptual place I come at this conversation from. So yeah. I think the Guild Wars 3 is going to be smaller scale. And I think it's going to openly own the fact that it's smaller scale and you can have good experiences at a smaller scale. Some of you guys saying 10, some are saying 5. 5, I love the 5 thing. Listen, we'll do the blog post soon. We'll read the Guild Wars 2 press where they talked about how 5 was brilliant. We'll do it, guys. All right, what else we got? Guys, you got to stop with these donation questions. We've got to get to the actual thing. Emily with 10 euros. Thank you, Emily. Got to the stream late, but I'm having a good time with all the recent uploads. Here's 5 cents in Shire coin. Hey, no, 10 euros ain't that bad. It's like, what, 8 quid or something? Time for a Warframe stream to get a feel for Guild Wars 3. Yeah, you know what? You know what I want, guys? You know what I wish I could do right now? Is this. There's just something wrong with it, with this right now. What is wrong with this? I do this all the time, you know. I run against walls like this to keep myself logged in so I don't get kicked. But you know what I wish I could do? I wish I could hold down Q right now. Or R1 or whatever. And I wish I could just run up this wall. If only they'd make a sequel for the likes of me. It's a coffee and a custard slice. Metas are still cool. Listen, I like the idea of theatres of war and lots of players, but I like to see it. And to be honest, I like people being spread out. I don't like everyone balled up against one thing. I like the Great Jungle Worm, where we are split across 3 different areas. The more that they split the Zergs, you can actually kind of feel it. And if there are actual interactions between those as well, I think that's also very good. But unless I really feel like I can see or experience all those people running together. The thing is, right, like for every veteran that's played too much of the game, once you become a veteran and you play too much of the game, certain novelties wear off. They just do, and you're not looking or impressed by all the players fighting the Great Jungle Worm anymore. But we all know, I think I could do a poll right now. Every single person in this chat right now, and everyone go into the YouTube comments, everyone watching this, if you've played Guild Wars 2, you know, there might be some sour-faced GW1 exclusive people out there. You've all had that moment where you first saw a meta event, or World versus World is a big one as well. I very clearly remember standing on a bridge after like solo roaming right when I first got into World versus World, and I looked and this Zerg ran under the bridge along a river underneath me, and I was like, holy shit, look at that. We've all had that mind blown, whoa, that's cool moment, right? We all know it. I don't care how many hours you put in this game and what kind of a vet you are, and I know that it's no longer a novelty to you, and you don't care, and you just see the downsides. But we were all that guy at some point, so we should all have some empathy to the more casual players, and the more touristy players, and the more, you know, distant players, who only just recently experienced that. They only just recently experienced it, the novelty has not worn off for them, and yeah, they're going to go online, and they're going to ask for Zergs in Guild Wars 3. They're just going to do it, and they're going to get upset about this NCSoft quote. Arenanet need to understand that, and they need to communicate with those people adequately. But by the way, just if they back off of like Zergs and world bosses and stuff, I don't necessarily think that means we lose the open world altogether. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the smaller scale Guild Wars 2. And there, by the way, that's an example of... this could be a little video. I didn't do the intro and the outro, which sort of sucks. What's the timestamp right now? I don't know where we are timestamp-wise. We're at 1 hour, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. How have I rambled for an hour? We haven't even got to the topic yet. 1 hour, 3 min. I might spin that into a video. We'll see. We'll see how tolerant people are of me dumping VODs up, basically. But that's a good little chat there. Okay. So let's move on. Anything else? Yeah, time for Warframe. I don't know. Okay, so we'll get to. Oh no, hold on. Right, Rat-a-Paten. We're here. On Rat-a-Paten, there's actually a level 63 accessory called Early Asura Relief Rubbing, with the description, these patterns must date all the way back to when ore was still a thriving place. So the idea of the Asura being on the surface during ore's prime is already directly baked into the setting. And they say Rat-a-Paten is pretty close to ore geographically, just saying. Yeah, so just so that you guys can see here. This area in Mount Maelstrom is called Rat-a-Paten. Rata, we all know this generally to mean... well, for a long time we wondered if this actually meant Massart ruins. Because the jumping puzzle up here kind of felt a bit Masai as well, didn't it? But... yeah, the idea is this is an ancient, ruined Asura city. And the question, or outpost, settlement at the very least. And the question is, and the Demo Priory here investigating it, the question is who lived here when? And there were actually a lot of options open to, you know, speculation. I remember when we first got here, you know, people wondered whether this was in the 250 years. 250 years isn't a small amount of time. There could have been Asura that came here after Primordus and Eye of the North, and then it failed for whatever reason and is a ruin now, you know? That could have been a thing. But you can actually read the little pickups here, and they kind of say, look, this was a settlement when ore was a thriving place. And they've clearly looked at that with Guild Wars 3 and said, fuck, cool, yeah, Asura on the surface in Guild Wars 3. And in fact, I have it available. In the Guild Wars Eye of the North manuscript, what have we got? If I control F4, Asura. The Asura. We can read this right, guys? The Asura are a... oh, here we go. Right, the Asura are a race of diminutive but incredibly intelligent humanoids who live beneath the surface of Tyria. They see the world as complex magical machine, and their philosophy of eternal alchemy touches everything they do. Inventors, scientists, and spellcasters of every stripe, the Asura consider many other races beneath them, and are not afraid to tell them so at every opportunity. It has been centuries since the Asura were above ground. Were seen above ground. So... it's easy to remember these products as they released and know that Asura weren't in Prophecies, Asura weren't in Factions, Asura weren't in Nightfall, and then Arenanet invented the Asura for Eye of the North and revealed that they came out of the depths. So it's easy to say then, well, they were always in the depths. They were never on the surface. You look at the Guild Wars 3 trailer and you say they were never Asura on the surface. What the fuck? This is law breaking. It's not. It's not law-breaking. Arenanet always had the door open to the idea that the Asura might have been on the surface before. It has been centuries, not thousands of years, not tens of thousands of years. It has been centuries since Asura were seen above ground. In fact, until recently, many humans thought they were a myth. However, reports have confirmed their existence. So, yes, there could have been Asura above ground, and they could have been furry. There's actually a very cool theory here that the Asura get hairy when they're on the surface, and they went bald when they went underground, which is why they were super bald in Guild Wars 1, and now they're getting their hair back in Guild Wars 2. Like Liz is here with this new VOE haircut. Yeah. Magic Daddy says, does anybody here actually feel like Guild Wars 2 takes place 250 years after Guild Wars 1? Because I feel like it doesn't really feel like 250 years. In what way? You feel like it's more or less? I don't know, because I'm in my early 30s. I'm in my mid-30s. Oh, I can't say that anymore. And I don't know what it's like to witness hundreds of years of history unfold before me. I don't know about you. I'm also not a historian. What else we got? So yeah, and then people are saying this is also kind of close to ore. This is pretty amazing, right? Pretty cool. Gorbel says you're not allowed to have frog as your fursona because frogs don't have fur. Is that how that works? Does it? Do you have to be furry to be furry? Is that how that works? Can't you be... Is it? I thought it was just anthropomorphic animals. What if I want to be like a tarantula? What if I want to be a tarantula bat? I mean, a bat's okay. And hold on. I guess spiders are furry as well. So spiders are okay? What if I want to be a worm? Would you still love me if I was a worm? What have we got here? Mandor Saw. I haven't finished the video yet, but WP discovering his new glasses and seeing the world so much more clear. My only thought was WP got an OLED screen IRL. All right, I'm glad you said that. Okay, do you guys want to hear what's really nerdy and really sad? All right, do you want to get on the last video? I was ranting about how amazing my new glasses are. Right? Do you want to? I'm actually cringing a little bit to say this, but I'm gonna go ahead. As I was walking home. And I was admiring the world, and all the bricks, and the clouds, and the signs that I could read really far away, and the definition of all the leaves on the trees as they got rustled in the wind. What honestly sprung to my mind is, hey, this looks like those Ultra HD travel videos you find online. You know, you guys know the ones that I'm talking about where they like hook a camera up to their I don't know, their shoulder or whatever, and they'll do like a walk through Barcelona in the sun, right? Or some like Greek town with the white walled village or something. And it will just be like pure immersion, just someone just on a hike, like on a beachfront or in a market town or something. And you hear the birds and the wind. Oh, they're so good. I fucking love those videos. I love those videos. They're so cool. But they always do them on like 8K or whatever, right? And you watch it and it's like gorgeous. I was like, oh my God. It's like I'm watching one of those travel vlog videos. People are actually going around seeing the world like that. Look. And I thought, oh God, that's so sad, man. I thought to myself, that is too chronically online. There should not be a comparison that comes to mind. But it was. And look, I guess there's a reason. My own optometrist said, I said, so when I get these new glasses, is it going to look better? And he said, yeah, it will look like everything's in Ultra HD. You know, people say it looks like HD because it fucking does. I mean, look, that's just the way it is. But I did it brought me to mind of those like travel vloggy videos. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, turn this off. All right, seriously, you're in for a treat. They're so good. They're so good. I don't have any like particular channels in mind. I don't know if anyone wants to recommend some in chat. You're more than welcome to. But they're fucking awesome. And they got like the stabilized, smooth footage. There's no one yapping. There's no, hi guys, visit my Patreon, please. You know, which is like an instant click off. It's just nature. Except it's not really because you're inside your house. But it's a nice approximation of nature. It's a nice, dystopic, third world. You know, it's that image of a guy wearing a VR headset in a dark room in a corner, rocking back and forward, but he's happy and content. There you go. POV channel is a great one. He goes out to the middle of nowhere in the US. There you go. Ram Black for Japan. Look at this. You guys know what I'm talking about. My people are out there. Yeah, and I have... There's this, I think I saw an amazing one in Hong Kong at some point. It was just like one of my favorite movies of all time, Lost in Translation. With all the, like, fucking neon signs and... Oh. You love the ones in the woods? I have always wanted to do an IRL hiking vlogging channel. I've always wanted to do that. Always. In fact, one of my favorite channels on all of YouTube has been dead for like 6 years. All right, it's this British guy called Duncan Toms, and he was making videos back in like 06. He would go on hikes like 06, 07, 08, 09, and so Duncan would just go out and he'd just film like the birds or the cows that you walk past or the streams, and he'd just say, yeah, here's the thing. And he wouldn't talk much. And he always had a very soft voice. He wasn't trying to jingle the keys. He was just, oh, look at this. This was a really hard hill to get up. Look at this view. And then he'd just pan around. And then he'd move on. I watched that shit on repeat. I love that stuff. Hairy leg reveal, Tato? I'm really nervous that you just said that because I sent Kerry a video of my hairy legs earlier. Why are you saying that? Oh, because you'd look down? Yeah, okay. Alright, yeah. In the VOD. I've never hiked to the Lake District, no. And I haven't hiked much lately. The past couple of years have been quite chaotic and I want to get back to it. Alright, let's move on. Let's move on from all of that. What we got next? Nearly there, guys. Nearly there. For Yui Fight, this was a great little comment here. This guy actually has the details to back up what we're talking about. Somebody, for Unreal Engine 5 games, there's Black Myth Wukong, Expedition 33, Frostpunk 2, Gothic 1, the remake, Stalker 2, Art of Chernobyl, Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, Titan Quest 2, Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and many others. I picked these because they all look pretty different from one another. If people are concerned about performance, I get that. But art style? Art style has nothing to do with the engine. Art style is the dev's choice. So I was trying to fumble my way into this point the other day. Because I do believe that. I've seen people talking about this for years. I saw discussions about this last year when we were playing Oblivion Remastered. It just depends on how they handle the engine. They don't all have to look the same. I don't believe... If you look... so here's the point I want to make, right? If you look at the Guild Wars 3 footage and you say that looks generic, that looks bad, then just leave it at that. That's fair and that's fine, right? I get it. If you think it looks like Power World or Fortnite, and it doesn't, there was an amazing post on the Guild Wars 3 sub last night where someone literally put Fortnite next to Guild Wars 3 and he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? It doesn't look like those. But like, if you think it looks too samey to other products in the industry, then you can just say that. You don't have to blame it on Unreal, right? Now, I understand that there are stock assets and there are stock settings and there is like a default baseline that comes out of the box, as it were, that perhaps some studios don't tinker with much, and therefore that there are commonalities. I understand that, right? But I think the idea that it's Unreal is overblown. I think that there are commonalities in many video game eras. You know where there are other commonalities? Early PS1 games. It's not all about being on the same engine. It's about what technology and the PCs and the hardware of the day it was capable of doing, right? And there are commonalities between PS2 games, and there are commonalities in the Vive over the PS3 and 4, right? I think if things look very similar, it's because we're all tending to photorealism. And there's only so many ways that you can make shadows, for example, or metals or leathers and things look both photorealistic and stylized at the same time. There's going to be emerging. And look, I think it's a totally valid criticism. I think it's very valid to say, fuck man, that looks just like the Fable trailer. That looks just like what it's like exploring around the outside in Hogwarts Legacy. Like, I'm sick of this, right? I wanna enjoy some pixel art. I wanna see something... You know, like Kerry loves Octopath Traveler. She adores that tilt-shift style with the pixel art, right? I want to see something new. I want to see something fresh. That's totally valid to say. Just don't fucking blame it on Unreal Engine. If you're going to bitch about Unreal Engine, let's bitch about the performance implications. I think that's where you want to be scared, guys. And I think you should be scared. So anyway, there you go. Good little comment. What we got here? Inquest Agent X. I think it's a good idea to skip the whole Grenth overthrows Doom story because it has already been told in large parts and we already fought against Doom twice. The aftermath of Doom's imprisonment, however, now, that's an interesting story. As much as Doom has been painted as the bad guy in GW1 and GW2, I think there's comfort to be found in an ender of all. Imagine how scary it must be for the average Orient citizen when not only one of their gods has been usurped, but suddenly ghosts and the undead rise from their graves when previously death was absolute. The last Guild Wars 2 expansions already showed how morally grey the human gods were, like using their own followers as test subjects for the Scepter of War and the Staff of the Mist, expecting them to be a trap from the Sith, and they played tricks on them and stuff as well. Yeah, you're totally right. I'd love if in Guild Wars 3 they embrace this fully and flip the script on the human gods, confronting us with their shortcomings. Maybe Grenth's relaxed attitude towards death leads his followers to abusing these powers, banding together to form the first Necromancer Guild and acting as an antagonistic force in Guild Wars 3. Yeah, and just talking about like the founding of the church, right, of Grenth or whatever, as is alluded to. You, I think, have a good instinct for world building, Inquisitor Agent. I think all that shit is exactly what I want to see and I want to talk about. And I was reading a lot of like IRL history stuff about the... Does anyone know anything about the interregnum? The interregnum, right, is this period... I don't know whether there were multiple interregnums in multiple countries over the years, right? I think the word literally means the discontinuity. But basically... the UK pissed off the Pope, right? And they're all Catholic at this point. So the Pope literally just, like, paused religion. Like, killed religion in the UK. Said, yeah, your God is your king is a heathen now. You can't pray. We won't let you get married. We won't let you bury your dead. Now, look, these are primitive peasants, right? They're fools that are still deeply devout and deeply religious, right? Faith is like... in the modern era, you really have to, like, go through quite a lot of self-delusion. I don't mean that in, like, a rude way. You really, really have to work on your faith in the modern world because science answers so much, and you don't need it, right? People who are faithful these days really have to have a penchant for not asking questions and for just, like, pushing themselves into their devotedness, right? But not during the interregnum, right? These people lived and breathed and truly believed in magic. And these people really, really fucking whole-assed believed in the existence of a god and that miracles could happen and all this shit, right? They thought it really fucking mattered that you buried someone and had a funeral and that their soul actually went somewhere. Like these were like tangible things about the world to them. And they were all told, no, you can't do this anymore. And it, like, fucking devastated them. It, like, threw the country into chaos. People were, like, freaking out about it and losing their minds. Like, actual hysteria and panic. And it's, like, this fascinating period of history to read about. Read about it. Read about the interregnum and how it ended. And so, like, when you talk about awe there, and, like, when we talk about, like, a fantasy setting where, once again, it is this concrete thing, It's really thrilling, isn't it? It's cool to think, yeah, like they're changing the fundamental idea of death. But the thing is, right? You could have had all that and still told the story of the actual overthrowing. There's a lot of juicy stuff in there as well. The other thing that I think is really juicy is Grenth himself. I love the idea of Grenth as like an adolescent god, like, or even a juvenile god, right? The boy king, the boy god, Grenth. You know, he's a kid. And this has been thrust upon him, right? You know, everyone loves a story like that. Like Queen Elizabeth II getting the crown very young or whatever, or whoever. This is a cool idea, isn't it? Thinking about Grenth being very young where he took up the mantle. And I know all of our statues and depictions of him have him older. But I think that's something fun that Guild Wars 3 could have gone into had Doom still be on the Pantheon. I don't know, it's just weird to me. I just think that it would have been a lot richer to still have Doom there. We'll see what they do. Yeah, it's a good comment. Good comment. All right, next. I think we're nearly there, everybody. Igor of Karim says Guild Wars 1 lets you toggle between PC and mobile UI at the click of a checkbox as of the recent update. That's true. We demoed that. I don't see why they wouldn't just do that for Guild Wars 3 too. So both controller and mouse and keyboard players can get what they desire and neither experience needs to be compromised. This isn't true though, is it, Igor? It's not true. It's not true because a controller player, a console player, can't just click a button and have mouse and keyboard. They're not going to... Okay, how do I articulate this? They fundamentally, when they're designing systems, when they're designing UI, when they're settling on a baseline idea of complexity, they have to go from the lowest common, not the lowest, the most basic, I guess the lowest common denominator as far as like control schemes are concerned. The most basic control scheme, it has to be based around that. Because they're not going to release Guild Wars 3 on consoles expecting people to occasionally, oh, just quickly plug your mouse and keyboard in and hit the checkbox. They're never going to do that. They fundamentally have to work for the controller and the controller alone. Which means that anything mouse-driven and everything else is an afterthought. It is a secondary thing. It is more effort, it is more work, and that is work and that is effort that they probably will want to go to. If they do a bit at the start, then fine. But I am cynical about your take here. I don't think you're right. I think that the fact it's on console shifts everything fundamentally downwards. The alternative is if you release on mouse and keyboard first and you try to squit the fit, you try to squit. Ugh. Yeah, let's go with that. You release on mouse and keyboard first and you try to squit it into the hole. You tried to fit the square peg into the hole, and it's kind of awkward, you know. And yeah, people can play FF14 on controller, but the amount of configuration and stuff you have to do is not small. And let's face it, we all view it as impressive when we see people playing Ultimates on controller, right? It happens, but it's impressive, and we all know why it's impressive, because it's not seamless and it's not fucking easy. There you go. You just had a flashback to awful PC UI in 14 pre-ARR. Where all the UI was connected to the network, so it would, if the servers were lagging, the whole UI lagged. Yeah, I remember that as well. That game did not have a good release, a big release. There you go, guys. There's your questions and answers section. It was an hour long. I thought we had some fun though, right? Are we ready to talk about the timeline? Am I ready to talk about the timeline? My throat hurts. Weezy says, agreed, WP. It will be controller first. And the other is secondary, but the only reason I think that even though it's secondary it won't be bad is that they've made everything PC only for decades now. Yeah, look, on a scale out of 10, how concerned am I about the console element? I don't know, 5 out of 10? I don't know. Alright, I'm going to say something here that I kind of want people to just sort of know about. My overall take with this, right? Like, big picture. Can we just pretend that Guild Wars 3 hasn't been announced yet, right? Let's pretend that it's, you know, a month ago, right? And you've caught me online and you've said, WP, what would you want for the next installment in the franchise? I have videos on this. I'm coming from a place, right, where my answer to that question a month ago would happily have been, I want to see Fractals the game. I want to see a new game in the franchise where they don't have to call it Guild Wars 3, but it's like Warhammer Vermintide. Have you guys ever played Warhammer Vermintide or Darktide? Right? You know, a hub-based game where you have small party sizes, linear-esque missions, but nonetheless are gorgeous and have great art, and they're set in interesting areas of the world, and, you know, they're fun and collaborative, and the combat is fucking awesome. I would happily have said that, right? That is a product that I can buy into. I'm very, very excited by that. I would happily play that. I would happily play Fractals the game or anything else you like. But the point I'm making is I will buy and I will be enthusiastic and I will be excited about a small-scale Guild Wars product. I think it'll be cool. I think it shows it gives them opportunities that the MMO doesn't. And especially in the world where they're going to continue with Guild Wars 2, right? And it's not replacing Guild Wars 2. I don't need it to be Guild Wars 2 again. I don't need it to have Zergs. I don't need it to have the large party sizes. So I will accept a thinner product. What I'm trying to say here is I'll accept a console game. I'll accept a different combat system that only has 4 buttons, right? I'll accept a game that doesn't have a trading post and doesn't have mouse-driven UI and is less complex. I will accept a more simplistic, console-based game I will accept a more simplistic, casual-oriented game, which are things that I think you're all going to have to prepare yourself for the fact that Arenanet are about to give you. Look at Colin's statements. What did he say? Did he say this is a game for the hardcores? This is a game for the wholly dedicated? This is a game to capture attention and addict you and make you love it like no other? This is a game for the people that fucking adore MMOs and will shut themselves in their rooms for months at a time. This is the dedicated enthusiast game. Did he say any of that? No, he fucking didn't. He did the reverse. He said this is a game for people who have jobs, basically, right? He said this is so that it doesn't feel like a second job. This is to allow you to jump in and out and not be scared of it. These are all, and the console thing as well, they're all pointing to a smaller, thinner, more narrow experience, all right? And that might not be what some of you guys are looking for, but I'm just trying to explain that I will accept that because I would have accepted Fractals the game. That's why it gets so weird that they're saying that these communications they're giving with the one hand don't really match to me with the communications they're giving with the other hand, which is calling it Guild Wars 3 and which is calling it an MMO. Massive, Arenanet, massive. So the proof will be in the pudding, right, what they do. But yeah, like, so when we talk about console and stuff, like, okay, how dodgy do I think that sounds? I don't know. Is it ideal? Maybe not, but I'll probably enjoy it anyway. I would have enjoyed any number of other products. I would have enjoyed a Guild Wars RTS. Ugh, why do they keep catering to that group? Well, they have to. Because the veteran, being a whole ass dedicated nerd does not mean that you spend a lot of money. And it doesn't mean that you get pop culture notability. You know, you can have a really dedicated audience of 1,000 hardcore raiders in Guild Wars 2. It doesn't fucking mean anything. Right, what matters is having a lot of people. I mean, the buck stops there, really. But yeah, it easily could have been, hey, with Guild Wars 2, we were trying to be as frictionless as possible, and we were going for a more casual crowd for a lot of it. This time, we're going the reverse. Here's our raiding game. You know, but that could have been an announcement. It's not an announcement. And I think that there are going to be a lot of people out there that are upset by that. Let's be honest. There are. Why is a business appealing to its customers, indeed? I think that talking point, Colin's talking point about being scared to get into it is a really, really important talking point. But I actually think it's misjudged. I think he's come out with it too early. I think you're wrong, Colin, to talk about that now. I think that that's a talking point. I think that's a part of your marketing for an established game. I think that that's what you discuss with people when you're talking about Reforged. I think that's what you talk about when you're talking about Guild Wars 2. So, like, just talking for myself as WoodenPotatoes, right? I'm interested in ESO. I kind of want to play ESO. Why haven't I actually done it? Well, or like New World or Lost Ark. There were a lot of games that came out, right? And I was keen. I missed the initial windows for them because I didn't want to feel like I was bandwagoning or whatever. Is Lost Ark still out, right? Lost Ark's still a thing. Why am I not playing Lost Ark right now? Why am I not doing that? I can only speak personally to myself. And you guys in chat, you can ask yourself the same question. I'm not playing it because I feel like I missed the boat. Because I feel like, yeah, it's going to be this huge thing. It's too much to learn. There's all these metas, and there's, oh man, and all the nerds are going to tell me exactly how to play and what's right and wrong, and it's a lot to get into, you know, like, fuck that. No, these games are too big. It's too big. It's too much, and I missed it when it came out. So when Colin says, oh, we don't want it to feel too difficult to jump in, we don't want it to feel too impenetrable, blah, 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 blah. That's great, but people don't give a shit about that at the release of an MMO. When it's the launch of an MMO, people do not think on those terms, I don't think. I think they think, it's here we go, launch, let's fucking go. Yes, there is a bit of overlap with people that will also say, oh, you know, do I have the time for this? But I think it's a small argument for the launch of an MMO. I think it's a big argument once you're a few years deep. I think it's a small argument today. And the much, much more important thing to do is go online and tell people that there's a lot to do. Don't be scared of there being content. So, and I have to assume that they understand that themselves, and what they're trying to do is lower your expectations. That's why they're not going online talking about there being a mountain of content, tidal waves of content. They're trying to lower your expectations because they haven't made tidal waves of content. They haven't made an open world like this. It's not the same. So they're trying to like package them together, as it were. But they will burn the diehards and the losers and the no lives for that. But maybe they're happy with that as well. I mean, they'll never admit to it outside, beyond closed doors. But do you really want everyone to be a wooden potatoes? Hell no, you don't.
Actually, this is a retcon. Actually, you promised there would never be mounts. Actually, I paid $30 a few years ago, and I should still have access to all the content.
You know, do you know what I mean? Like, do we want this? People who get hyper fixated on just one product, you know, we tend to have something wrong with us. You don't want that. You want normal people. Oh my god, WP's a real voice. Yeah, sorry, it was bugging there. The voice changer. I don't know. It was crapping out for a second. Let me hit the PC. All right. Okay. Should we talk lore? Oh. If everyone was WP, the coin collecting would be too much. God, we're memeing about that way too much. I don't even have any. Today was the first day I tried to get some. And I was turned away. My apologies, good man. Everyone should be WP. We would have the best game on their feedback, on the best feedback. I thought you were doing a Trumpy thing. Okay, so here's what I want to do in today's video. All right, we're going to do an intro here. Let me collect my brain off the floor for a second here. Did a little 1 hour 30 crowd warm up. I know, this is going to be a total disappointment now.
But if you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise magic.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. Today, I want to talk lore. I want to talk about Guild Wars 3 lore. I want to go through the actual setting. Now, I've mentioned it many times now already that I love the idea of this being 1,000 years ago. That it brings so many cool races back. The Coden can be there, the Forgotten can be there, the Dwarves are there, they're not made of stone. Just everything is there. The setting is so rich at this point that it kind of blows my mind. So, I want to nail down exactly when it's going to be, and I want to talk to you guys about the state of Tyria at this exact moment in time. So for this, we're going to use the wiki. We're going to see, you know, basically what was happening on the timeline. And this is a bit of a primer for you guys. If you're not too familiar with the lore, we're going to go from like as far back in the timeline as possible. And we're going to work our way forwards to Guild Wars 3, which is not actually that many events. There's not actually that much history to go through. So, for example, if you're playing the sequel right now, when we go to the story journal, you'll see that the year is 1339 AE. If you're a little bit of a noob with the lore, or you've forgotten because you've been away from the game for a while, AE stands for Exodus, after the Exodus. So, the Exodus of the gods. We're counting time. The year 0 in this franchise is the year that the gods left. So we're dealing with in Guild Wars 2 with 1,339 years after the gods left in the current story. And we were a few years earlier than that when this game began. We were back at 1325. God, how time is moving. It's crazy, isn't it? If you think about the Sylvari, they're getting older and older and older. But so we're going back. Now, they've said over 1,000 years. If it would just be 1,000 years, we'd still be 300 years after the Exodus. But we know that the gods are going to be there as well. And in fact, we know that ore is up and okay. So, where does that actually lead us? Well, I've got some quotes, like some little tidbits from the devs over the past few years. One of them is to say that it's 1,200 years before the events of Guild Wars 1. Now, the events of Guild Wars 1 were 250 years before Guild Wars 2. So we're actually dealing with 1,450 years before Guild Wars 1. Before Guild Wars 2. And that puts us before the year 0. That puts us into the BE timeline. We're some years before the gods left. We also have a quote that says, "Our game begins shortly after Grenth becomes a god." Now, I don't know whether I really like that idea. I kind of like the idea that Doom was still a god, and we got to actually see that moment play out as the story went along. But hey, in media res, maybe it's better to start in the middle. But so this is going to be shortly after Grenth becomes a god, but it is still before the Exodus. And in fact, by the way, it's also before the very first Guild War. The Guild Wars, in terms of actual lore, like I think the very first one started because they were fighting over the magic in the Bloodstones. So it's funny, for a long time I was actually very, very excited that finally, guys, we were going to have a Guild Wars game that featured Guild Wars in it. But we're not, it seems. We've now done 2 games after the Guild Wars, and now we're doing a game before the Guild Wars, which is amazing. So instead of picking the Guild Wars, which would all be post-God timeline, the devs have picked before all of it. So when exactly is it? Well, that detail that Doom has already been replaced as a god, and Grenth is now a god, that helps us narrow it down a lot. In fact, we can go to the official timelines on the wiki, and we can have a play around and we can see what they've got. So let's do this as a bit of a primer. Not just for you guys, but for me as well. I want to refamiliarize myself with what's happening. And yeah, we'll see. So here we go. So what have I got here? First of all, this is the Eye of the North manual, which we might refer to a couple of times as we're going. The Eye of the North manual did not actually have... So I was just talking to the stream about the Asura quote in this. The Asura appear in here somewhere here. And there is this quote that it has been centuries since the Asura was seen above ground. So yeah, they really do seem to be furry Asura in all that promotional material, and that they could have been up and around Or. They could have been there near the ruined city of Rata Pten, or the ruined outpost of Rata Pten, which is quite cool. Oh yeah, we have the Eye of the North manuscript. We also have the Prophecies manuscript. Now this one's very cool because it does actually, if I remember rightly, have a timeline. I remember reading this when I was younger while the game installed. Book 1, The Lore of Guild Wars. You get some short stories. And then, if we scroll down... Maybe I shouldn't have zoomed in so much. Look at that OG Char there, looking absolutely ferocious. Man, the short stories are quite long. It would be nice if I could do a 2-page layout here as well, actually. Maybe I can? What is this here? No, that's just a sidebar for us. Well, maybe the sidebar's good, actually, just for scrolling. Here we go. Here's your timeline. So in the manuscript, there's a very, very small timeline. Okay, they didn't talk much about it, but they did give us the name of the calendar. Okay, this is known as the Mavelian calendar, and for the rest of this video, it's important that we know what the Mavelian calendar is. Okay, the Mavelian calendar, named after Grand Patriarch Movel, who, by the way, is a character we've heard like nothing about in any of the games. I can't think of a single instance, a single event, a single piece of dialogue, a single item with flavor text in either game that has ever referenced this guy. But this was the first High Priest of the Church of Dwayna. Now, there is stuff about the church in Guild Wars 2 at launch, specifically regarding this Grenth thing. If you played the right story steps and you hung out with Priestess Ree, if you guys remember in the OG story, there was a whole thing about how it's a conspiracy that Grenth is actually the son of Dwayna and potentially Malcor, and it's this big thing that they hid, and they talk about the church in a few ways. We really have very, very little details about that organization, right? But here, we hear about the High Priest of the Church of Dwayna, who was Movel, and this calendar begins counting the years from the moment the gods left Tyria. This event is known as the Exodus. Years before this date are labelled BE, before the Exodus. Years after the date are AE, after the Exodus. Guild Wars 3 is going to be in BE. Years prior to the year 1, which we've, there's never been a novel, there's never been, like, a flashback. I'm pretty sure there's never been a flashback to BE. I mean, there's been concept art of dragons generally rampaging, but, you know, which you could maybe say was the previous cycle, which is 10,000 years ago. That's well off into BE. That's like 10,000 BE. But I don't know. We've never really had anything tangible about BE. When we go back to Guild Wars 3, we really are going into like a primordial, very different time for the franchise, a very rich time, where Arenanet have a lot of space to play around and do whatever they want. Years after the Data A, years prior to year 1A countdown getting smaller as they get closer to the time of the Exodus, just as they do in the Gregorian calendar in real life. That's funny to hear that reference there. And then they talk a little bit about the seasons. So there's the season of the Zephyr, the Phoenix, the Star, and the Colossus. These are all quite cool and do show up, obviously, in this early manuscript. Have very, very little relevance ever in the game. Almost never do you hear characters actually refer to these or find it written in lore documents. You do sometimes. I wonder whether they'll lean on this stuff a little bit more when it comes to Guild Wars 3 and the elemental alignments and stuff. I'm not too sure if they will. But then we have a timeline. And back at the start of the lore, right, this was it. And as I say, the Eye of the North manual never expanded on this. I think Cantha had its own one. Oh god, we're actually being attacked in game. I tried my very best, guys, to stand in a place where I wouldn't get attacked. But apparently some bandits roaming the roads have come after us. Should we go to Divinity's Reach? I know a good place we can go. Obviously, Ore would be a good place we can go. But I think a better place, since we're going to be talking about the gods quite a lot, and we're going to be talking about Grenth. Well, okay, all right. Grenth's temple would be absolutely incredible as a spot to go to, but there's going to be Risen attacking me constantly. No, I think what we should do is head on over to the temple here with the stained glass windows. I remember the lighting here, you know, which are basically just some rays that come in. But, oh my god, I remember this. It's cool to think in Guild Wars 3 with Unreal, they can actually cast light through stained glass windows like this, and actually it will be coloured on the floor. The lighting will actually properly pop. It's going to look so good, man. If, like, these stained glass windows appear in the next game, oh, I can't wait till we get more footage. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be in here. This feels somewhat appropriate. Very scholarly. So yeah, what do we have? Okay, we have we're going backwards. 1072, this is 250 years ago. This is Guild Wars 1's present day. That's pre-searing, okay? 1 year before pre-searing, the Bay of Sirens, which is the water sort of around Kryta and Ore, gets renamed. I don't know whether they've ever really explained why this lore is here or whether it's really tied to much. The final of the third, I think this is the third round of Guild Wars, ended in 1070. So that's 2 years before even GW1 ended. Oh, sorry. No. This is pre-searing here. 1070 is pre-searing. 1072 is post-searing. So yeah, the Char invade. The Guild Wars, the most recent Guild Wars had started in 13. The Great Northern Wall was built before that. Lord Odrin started messing with portals and entering the mists. Now that's in the year 800, by the way, which suggests to me that Guild Wars 3, because it's so far back, it's another 800 years at least before Lord Odrin's even around. It wouldn't feel right for me if in Guild Wars 3 there's huge amounts of mist travel among the humans. We should be in a much more low magic environment, I would say. 500 years before that, Kryta became an independent nation. So this is what's cool. This is a nice refresh. So in Guild Wars 3, Kryta will not be independent. I think Kryta is still a colony of Elona, possibly. Or it might not even be that yet. No, here we go. It became a colony in 300. So who's living in Kryta in Guild Wars 3? Good question. I mean, guys, as we go through this, feel free to drop your thoughts and your comments. Cantha was thriving and doing very well. It's amazing to see Cantha referenced, by the way, in the OG Prophecies manuscript. Factions wasn't even out yet. That was in the year 200. Serpents leave the world of men. Now, this is an interesting phrasing. They're talking about the Forgotten there. The Forgotten worked very closely with the human gods. They were stewards of the world for a long time. After the gods left, they continued to be stewards for at least 174 years, as you can see. The Forgotten are very interesting. Recent Guild Wars 2 expansions have not really talked about this or the Elder Races. And I wonder if they've left that because that's going to be a big topic in Guild Wars 2. There should be loads of Forgotten around. And it's a bit of, you know, the trailer they've given us, people talk about being generic and they wouldn't have known that it's Guild Wars unless they'd actually until they wrote the word Guild Wars. I think a reason for that is that how many other races do we really see? We see humans, Kodan, and the Asura, but looking different. You know, where are the Forgotten in the footage? And yes, there are questions about the Char and the Norn and all those others, even the Silvari, which I think are valid and could all be a part of the setting. But anyway, I love the idea that in Guild Wars 3 we do see a lot of Forgotten again. There's a very cool fan theory that someone floated to me recently, that the Forgotten may have actually been responsible for ascending the gods in the first place, and then they brought them to Or, and I love that thought. And then eventually the humans came, and so on. So then we jump back even further. Now we're in the Exodus already. There's not much history to get through, was there, originally? Or became independent in the second year. So they weren't independent before. So who owned them? The gods themselves, I guess? Who owned them in that 2-year period after the gods had left? That's a fun one. 1 BE. Gods give magic to the races of Tyria. So here we go. Basically, the story is the gods broke apart the Bloodstone, this great device that was supposed to conceal all the magic and hide it from the Elder Dragons that the Seers created. And I do believe, guys, that if you play the current Guild Wars 2 expansion and the next update, I think we're going to see a lot more about the creation of the Bloodstone. I think we're going to learn a lot about the sacrifice the Seers quite literally put into that thing. And then the Seers went on to get wiped out in their war against the Masart largely. There weren't many left. The gods came, and they decided to break it open. And I think characters like Isgarin, who can be 100% around, by the way, and basically the exact same character, same voice, same temperament, same everything. People like Isgarin could be around and not very happy with that. And we've seen a couple of hints in recent expansions that he wasn't happy, and he viewed the gods as meddlers. Anyway, they gave magic to everyone. It caused chaos. They realized they made a mistake when King Doric did his big pilgrimage, and he bled on the stone, and they resealed it and brought peace again. But one of the 6 gods was not happy. One of the 6 gods still felt people needed magic, Abaddon. Now, why did he feel so strongly? I believe we can still only speculate on that. I think we can only speculate, and my speculation has always been he wanted to democratize the magic. He wanted people to have it to fight back against the Elder Dragons. And he believed that even if there was some short-term chaos, there would be long-term gains. But the other gods disagreed. The people of the world disagreed. Abaddon went to war, and they kind of messed with the whole world. They kind of destroyed a ton of stuff. As the story of Guild Wars 1 went along, you learned that this giant desert here, the Crystal Desert, was an ocean. And don't forget, it borders on Or. This was the Crystal Sea. And it was like Abaddon's domain. He was the god of water. And when he was destroyed, it all dried up. He got imprisoned. So when we talk about Guild Wars 3, we're talking about this. This is going to be the Crystal Sea in Guild Wars 3, which I'm also very thrilled about. So you're going to have Abaddon as basically a good guy, because it's going to be before the Exodus. You might see he starts having disagreements with the other gods. Maybe he only has the odds ally in Lyssa or something every now and then. I like that idea. But they have no beef with one another at this point. Abaddon is the god of secrets. He will become privy to things. He will learn things about the world, and he'll keep them from us. But ultimately, there are people who follow him, the Marganites, who sail these seas. And I love the thought of like sailing pirates coming to Or, and you will meet them in Guild Wars 3, which is just really, really, really cool to me. So before all of that, the gods are living happy. What do we have in the Guild Wars 1 Prophecies timeline? Not much after that. 100 years of gods living in Or, people living in Or, and Ascalon became a thing. High Plains human settlements become known as Ascalon. Now, why is this really interesting? Because right around this window is Guild Wars 3. We're somewhere in this area. And so we're looking at the foundation of Ascalon possibly around there. And that means that right at the moment that the Char got kicked out of Ascalon by the humans could be covered by Guild Wars 3. The loss of the Char territory. See, so Eye of the North and later installments revealed that the Char kind of ruled the whole world for a while. Or a lot of continental Tyria, let's put it that way. They had huge swathes of land. Presumably in conjunction with the Forgotten, but they fell in, and that was when they had their Khan-Er. They lost their Khan-Er, they fell into infighting, the humans took advantage and nabbed Ascalon. All of that is possibly around the Guild Wars 3 setting, I guess. And that's brilliant. That puts the Char into a very strong position, great warmongers, kind of at their apex, and we get to see that side of the story. 100 years before that, we have humans first arriving. So this is going to definitely be before Guild Wars 3. Humans are settled, and they're fine. But remember, this is just saying on the Tyrian continent. Humans were actually already there in Cantha as well. Cantha is a very, very interesting part of this setting. So, you know, where did they come from? That's always been a big outstanding mystery, and Guild Wars 3 might be able to go into that. And then, look at this jump, guys. 1,769. That's the Forgotten finding Tyria. See, I love this theory that the Forgotten... And that's actually not even that long ago, really, in terms of the Seers and the Massar and stuff. Then you've got 10,000 BCE. 10,000? That is the previous Elder Dragon Rising. That is the defeat of the Giganticus Lupicus. I know we've had a few theories that Lupi could appear in Guild Wars 3. Because there's that, you know, there's an undead Lupi in Guild Wars 3. They could be. Some species of the Great Light Giants could have survived. The gods could have hoarded them away in the city. They might be around. I wouldn't consider that a total retcon. But yeah, it was 10,000 years ago before all of this that the Elder Dragons were last awake. And when you're playing the modern Guild Wars 3 story, when you're dealing with the Seers and you're watching Isgaran getting banished by Sidoni and the Seers leaving Castora and the Seers thinking about making the Bloodstone and all that stuff, that's when they were previously at war. They're talking about fighting Zaitan and stuff. So that was ages ago. So that's why I say, when we're dealing with Guild Wars 3 and you look at a character like Isgaran, he's already really old. He's already so old by the time we get to around where Guild Wars 3 is at. So there's a little bit for you guys. So let's go on, though. Let's now look at the Guild Wars 1 timeline. Now, this is made by the wiki contributors. This one's a lot more in-depth, and we're not going to go over everything. Not all of it's pertinent. But what we have is the Mavelian calendar. Obviously, the calendar that's all about year 0 being where you have the gods. There's also the Canthan calendar, which is much older. You see, 500 years older. And that's CC. And then the Dynastic Reckoning, this is the Elonan calendar. And I honestly can't remember where that one counts from. Which is slightly older. But so these are basically all events of the recent games. I'm going to skip through these. We're not going to have to worry about this. This is all Guild Wars 1 stuff. All of this is Guild Wars 1. Here we're at 10. So Guild Wars 1 starts here. Okay. Present day in pre-searing, as you can see. You got stuff like Menlo leaving Cantha here. You've got various Ascalon cities. You have stuff to do with the Kurziks and the Luxons. You have stuff to do with the Corsairs. We scroll back. We're rolling back. The Great Northern Wall appears there again. We've got stuff about the Char in the interim. This is always a great page, by the way. And the guys that have built this over the years are fantastic. So what else do we have here? I mean, the Canthan stuff isn't too relevant, obviously, for Guild Wars 3. They could give us excursions out there. I don't know. Is it going to stay only in Ore forever? Even then, though, you can have visitors to the nation where this stuff becomes relevant. Here we have Glint. Glint only wrote the Flameseeker prophecies in the year 200. So that's a question. Is Glint around in Guild Wars 3? When did Glint wake up from the egg? I think she probably is around. Glint was cured of her dragon corruption and given free will by the Forgotten at the Altar of Glorst, which ended up in Ara. But that potentially was a long time ago. Glint might be around and alive, but it's before she wrote the Flameseeker prophecies. But it's before she has any interest in the Massar or anything like that, which is quite interesting. So yeah, we have the God scriptures around here as well. So 150. So let's read around now. So we're looking for when Grenth replaced Doom. That might not even appear. Does that yeah, that probably does appear in the Guild Wars 1 wiki. So Ascalon's new king receives their first Canthan ambassador in 100 BE. Look at that. So, yeah, there are ambassadors coming from Cantha right around this time. The scriptures of the various gods around 48, 45. The scriptures of Lyssa are here. The scriptures of Abaddon are here. I think we're right here in this window. Right here, guys. So Dwayna had been written before many of the others, and obviously it was talking about how she was one of the first gods. Here, look, Marganites are established. As you can see, Marganite settlements appear along the coastlines north and west of Alona. Marganite vessels rule the unending ocean. Plenty of stuff. The primeval kings have already been ruling in Alona at this point. Tyrians had been on the continent for at least 200 years. So there's the question of... So when we get to Guild Wars 3, there's a question of, like, the migration, and I'm very curious about this. I'm wondering about this in terms of... Did they all arrive in just one block? Or did they arrive in different cohorts? Did a bunch of humans arrive with Dwayna, and then a bunch of humans arrive with Balthazar later? and then did a bunch of humans arrive with Lyssa? You know, were they slowly filtering in through the mists over those years? Are we going to have a thing where, like, we're newly born into the reality as a mist traveler ourselves? But some of their press kind of suggested we're a native to ore. Didn't some of their press suggest that? So maybe not. What else have we got here? So yeah, humans have been in Cantha for 700 years already. And these humans in Cantha, by the way, guys, have had their own access to different forms of magic. Like stuff like ritualism has already been going on. So yes, the Bloodstones haven't been tapped into. And so what does that mean for the setting? That means that the Elder Dragons have already eaten loads of magic and they've fallen asleep. And slowly the magic is leaking out of their bodies while they sleep. Slowly magic is coming back. So there will be some magic around. I do think we'll be able to cast spells. And in ore in particular, we have the Artesian Waters and the ley lines. So I think that there's every reason to believe that they had a lot of magic there. They may have even been tapping, unknowingly as it may have been. The gods might have known, but the people probably not. They may have been tapping straight out of Zaitan's magic leaking out of him. Remember, once enough leaks out of Zaitan, he gets hungry, he wakes up. So there is some magic around, but not that much. Which is why eventually the gods decide, okay, let's break it open and give people lots and lots and lots. Beyond that, there are other sources of magic. You've got ritualism. What's that dealing with? Spirits, right? And we have the spirits of the wild. We have stuff like the Evoker in Guild Wars 2 right now. We have what the Coden are dealing with. We have the Norn. And so I think it's not a surprise to me we've got like this wispy, friendly, warclawry type entity with us. That will be our conduit for casting spells or something like that. I think there will be a lot of that. So yeah, lastly, we can go to the Guild Wars 2 timeline, which really just focuses on Mavelian and Canthan calendar. And again, and these guys actually write it opposite. So for the Guild, as far as the Guild Wars 2 timeline is concerned, they go a bit further back because of recent stories. So here, they actually say approximate 20k years ago was the last Dragon Rise. And I wonder what the source was for that, actually. Scholar Katerin. As a matter of fact, I'm pursuing that line. In Jotun's stellar writings, we found references to a sextet of swallowers who were said to have consumed the world several times over. So this is the thing with the wiki. How does that source say 20k years? I don't know how that says 20k years, but okay. The Giganticus Lupicus die out, with the exception of, obviously, Lupi that we saw. Exact dates and orders of all these events are unknown, but we've got Sidoni. All the stuff that we're seeing recently, where we see 10,000, between 10,000 and 1,000 years ago, the Massart tried to kill Zaitan, but Sidoni called the Seers back. Only the Forgotten helped, but the assault failed. Humans believed that the Forgotten only got here in 1,769. Here you go. The Forgotten performed their spell on Glorst. That was in 1,680. So we do. We have a glint with free will, who's had free will for at least 1,000 years in Guild Wars 3. The 6 gods have been there for 700 years, or has been getting built up for 700 years already. Their development is unhindered by the Forgotten. Additional humans arrive later, and they echoed out Vald Forest and the Jade Sea from unknown lands. There's dwarf stuff going on at this point. And so on. So as we come closer to Guild Wars 3 here, what have we got? Alright, so in 48 BE, it says Desmina becomes the first follower of Grenth. Balthazar assists a human army in achieving victory. Ewan and his atheist tribe were cursed by Melandru. This curse is an interesting thing. This Melandru curse. This curse talks, it's in Melandru's scriptures. I'll read them for you guys. Here we go. We have it available in a new tab here. Check this out. And it was that a tribe... So this could be literally happening in Guild Wars 3. And it was that a tribe of godless humans wandered the land. Where camped did they lay waste, senselessly destroying everything nearby. And so the tribe set out to find another camp, where suddenly sprouted a wall of thorny branches which blocked their exit. Then saith Ewan, leader of the tribe, know ye our ways. Whosoever does magic in this tribe shall be put to death. Yet none comes forward. Then from the earth grows forth a large tree, and unfurling its branches, and I want you guys to think pale tree when you read this, unfurling its branches reveals the upper torso of a woman. Saith she, I am Melandru, the mother of earth and nature. Henceforth I bind ye to these lands. When they suffer, so shall ye suffer. And as she saith, so it was done. From their limbs sprouted branches, and in the blood in their veins was the sap of trees. Then was Ewan and his tribe converted, and they became the stewards of nature. Now, when this was originally written, it could have been referring to any kind of plant-y species. It could have been being non-specific. It could have been talking vaguely about those little thorn stalkers that you found in Guild Wars 1. It could have been talking about oak hearts. People have often wondered if this is some kind of proto-myth about... that has... maybe it might not be the entire truth, but it might be partly describing the truth about the Sylvari. There could be something here about other pale trees, older Sylvari. And in fact, some of the concept art we've seen in the background, in some of the press they've released, kind of looks like they're Sylvari-esque creatures. There's a lot of reasons to believe that they'd keep the Sylvari in Guild Wars 3. People love them. Some people will refuse to play the game without them. They're very unique to the franchise. So knowing the exact precise what's going on here could be very cool for Guild Wars 3 to expand on. And look, it's right there in that sweet spot of where we see this could be. I want to see Grenth. Where is the thing about Grenth so we can get in a really good date here? I'm going to Control F the word Grenth. We just have Desmina becomes the first follower. We have that in 48. So Grenth is a god at least in 48. So... and presumably he has lots of followers already. So, oh, by the way, we could meet Desmina again. We saw her in the raid. We could see her again here. It's funny to think we could learn more about her, get her motivations and ideas, and then a Guild Wars 2 update could continue that raid storyline based on what we learned there. So yeah, I think probably after 48, somewhere around here, when Lissa does the village test, but not 1 BE. I kind of want the Abaddon stuff to be, and the Exodus stuff to be far away. I feel weird thinking that they might support... let's say they only set it 20 years before the Exodus. I feel weird thinking that they could keep it going as a game as a service for 20 years. And now they have to tell this story. And they might not be ready for it, or might fundamentally change the game. Or maybe that's amazing. Maybe they'd end up doing that. Maybe that's what we want. Yeah, and then Abaddon is defeated and imprisoned, and we move into a whole different area of Ore at that point. But yeah, there are Margonites around. There are Primeval Kings around. There are Canthons around. Glyn is there. All the ancient races. Sidoni... is Sidoni still around, or did he die already? When did Sidoni actually die? We met his ghost outside the Bloodstone Cave. But there you go, guys. So that's basically it. That's what I wanted to do in the video. I wanted to take a look at the timeline for you all. I wanted to get a bit more of a grip and a bit more of an idea of this setting and where this period of time will be. When Tyria had an ocean here, when Ore was not rotted, when Ore was not underwater, when Ore was pristine, and they'll be forgotten all over the place. And you know, there'll be dwarves. It's going to be good. Really, if this is kind of a more focused game on just one nation, but the writing depth is there and the quantity is there, I think this could do really good for making Tyria feel really big and unexplored and epic, because there'll be so much his stuff happening that's just beyond the horizon, and it won't feel like we've already seen and said and done it all, because, you know, we haven't. It's not like Guild Wars 2 where we've already explored the whole map like this, and a certain magic is lost at that point. So there you go, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I just wanted to throw this one out there. If you were interested in this, I have done a longer extended live version of this video. You can check out the tab on my channel where, you know, I'll probably be talking live to the community about what's going on with that very soon. So thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Good to be excitedly discussing lore again, and I'll see you next time. Right, we're back. No, not thanks for the stream, WP. No, not did I miss it. No, not indeed. No, that was just the video section. What? I know I'm bad at interacting with chat, but come on, that was like 20 minutes. I didn't say anything to any of you. No, we're still here. Right, let's see what you guys were saying. Arbadi says Guild Wars 3 is sure around 48 BE. You think 48? Why 48? Honestly, I thought in that video section I would do a lot more clicking into the actual pages on the wiki. 48, you think it's between... Oh, I didn't point this out, by the way. Oh no, there's AE. Sorry, not BE. Yeah, no, I should have pointed this out. No. Yeah, humans settle Ascalon, driving the Char out of their briefly conquered lands. I like how they say briefly. Oh yeah, by the way, that's another, I wanted to mention that. King Doric is around. We could meet King Doric. He's actually there. He might be old, but I think he's around at this point. If he's crowned king, how does he do his pilgrimage to beg people to fix things 100 years later? That's a weird one, isn't it? What is the source for him being crowned king at 100 BE? Historical Monument of King's Watch. Founded, season the Phoenix 1 AE. To endure is greater than to dare. To keep heart when all have lost it. To forgo even when one's life when one end is gained. Who can say is not greatest? On this site, more than 100 years prior, the first new king of the Republic of Ascalon was crowned. It was dedicated on the 95th day of the year in the season of the Phoenix in the honor of the passing of the greatest of all kings. This stone stands in memory to all the first sons of the Ascalon, King Doric. For it is through his sacrifice we now live on. May his blood have been spilled for the good of all. Again, how do you get the year 100 from that? Sorry, am I just stupid? On this site, more than 100 years prior, the king was crowned. Okay, so it was founded in 1 AE, so 100 years prior. The first king of Ascalon was crowned. Wow, that's how we get it. So yeah, so that's an odd one, isn't it? He was crowned king of Ascalon, 100 BE. But then he bled on the bloodstone and made his sacrifice. After 100 years, he was a 100-year-old king. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? So 48 BE is the date around which Grenth Doom is estimated, so that's what people are anchored to. I understand that, but that's not good enough for me. I want to know why people are estimating it to be 48 exactly. Why 48 exactly? Desmina becomes the first follower of Grenth. Let's actually read the statue of Grenth. Came then Desmina. So this is date 48. Came then Desmina, scorned and exiled by her people, and in her misery and wretchedness did Desmina curse the gods for abandoning all who, like her, admired power and ambition. And asketh she, where is the god to whom I may give my undying devotion? Where is the god to whom I may beg my revenge against those who scorn me? And rumbled then the earth from far below, and with a terrible groan split open. The ground grew white with frost and ice, and from forth of the frozen earth spilled the rotted skeletal minions of Grenth. Appeared then the god, and with bony hands outstretched welcomed the girl into his fold. Saith he, I am your god, follow where I lead, come whence I call, and the rotted corpses of the dead will be yours to control. And swearing allegiance in life and beyond, okay, she's his first follower. Swearing allegiance in life and beyond, did she become his first follower? She is his first follower. So, since he doesn't have any followers yet, it stands to reason that he's only just become a god in 48. You're right. So, it doesn't absolutely mean it, but yeah, okay. So we think it's 48 because he became So what did Colin say? It's after Doom got replaced. There could have been some interim years where he was like a boy wrestling with being a king and he didn't take any followers on. Could have been. Which could, and why am I doing this? Why am I grasping at these straws? Because I want to get us further back in the timeline. That's why. I want to get us around 100 BE, really. But yeah, somewhere between 100 and 48. That makes sense to me. By the way, my YouTube totally crashed while I was recording that, and I didn't know if I could see anything you guys were saying. We had a donation from Crispy Greens. Dude, thank you. $10. What do you think of the no class speculation going around on Discord and Reddit right now? I think it's possible classes are gone and you can build your own within 3 archetypes based on the tapestry. I don't know. I haven't actually seen people talking about that. What is it on the tapestry that suggests there's only 3 archetypes? I'm not sure I'm very excited about that. I don't think people will want to play at Guild Wars without classes. Do I think that's totally objective? No. Do I think there could be a good game without classes? Yes. Do I think people will stop and listen for that? No. Do I think it will hurt their bottom line? Yes. So I don't think they should do that. But maybe not. Yeah, founded 1 AE. 100 years prior would have been 99. Yeah, technically it would have been 99. You're right, Malchior. It would have been. The timeline is slightly off there. The tapestry has a mage, a ranger, and a fighter. Maybe. So it's very Destiny coded, you think? Assuming 3 archetypes? Isao says no classes would mean everyone min-maxes and uses the same builds. No. First of all, that's... Second, they do that anyway. No on both ends of the spectrum would be my response to that. Not everyone. I don't think that those 2 things are bound together. Oh, by the way, guys, there was a lot of chit-chat. There was a lot of chit-chat yesterday about the subscription fees. And people who were advocating for them were getting a little bit dogpiled. And I don't think objectively so, a lot of the arguments. I'm trying to just be like an ombudsman, right? I'm just trying to be a referee here. I'm trying to be impartial. But look, you can't make an argument to me that... Oh, Guild Wars 2 was really good. It had action combat and it had really interesting class design. So clearly you don't need a sub fee. That's a non sequitur. You can't make that argument. And it's amazing. There was someone who made a very black and white, like false dichotomic argument. And then later said, oh, it's not a zero-sum game. It doesn't have to be either or. And that's exactly what they've been arguing 2 messages before. I don't know. Just let's be polite to one another. That's what I would say. Less with the dogpiling. The gods didn't offer magic to the people yet, but made the maybe the Veil Guardians got special treatment. I tend to think they got it from like the spirits of the wild. I don't know. Thoughts on how the inscription on Melandri's statue might be hinting at plant humans being playable during the timeline? Yeah, I just talked all about that, didn't I? Just a second ago. Thank you for the $10. Didn't I just talk all about that? Yeah, I think that's a way for them to get some kind of Sylvari or Sylvari analog in there. I reckon it will be a Sylvari analog that ultimately is like some kind of predecessor species to the Sylvari, something like that. And I reckon that they might even reveal where one of the other trees is through Guild Wars 3, and then there'll be a mini-X back in Guild Wars 2 that takes us to it. And we'll find Malik there. I think that would be pretty cool. It writes itself! Do I think that Guild Wars 3 should have a sub-fee? No. I do not. I do not believe in a strict, forced sub-fee. I do not believe it on 2 major grounds. 1, sub fees aren't the majority of the money that they make anyway. It's microtransactions, and you're going to see microtransactions regardless. 2, this community would not stomach it. You can't take the Guild Wars 1 community and the Guild Wars 2 community that are like founded on not having a subscription and try and put force a subscription on them. You can't do it. I don't believe in a forced subscription. What I do believe in is some kind of VIP optional supporters pack, whatever you want to call it, opt-in sub. And I do believe in modern battle passes and monetization through seasons and accelerated growth and shit like that every other game in the industry does and earns money and can support their teams and can well fund their projects with. And I think Arenanet leave money on the table if they don't do that. And you can say, oh no, that's scummy. It is not fundamentally, inherently, unquestionably scummy. You're being reactionary if you say that. It's not true. There are a million different ways you can do some kind of battle pass or seasonal scheme that is not that painful to the consumer. But to flat out, idealistically say no ever, I think is a mistake. That's my view on it. I think people have made a lot of good arguments over the past few days. one of the big arguments that I saw was, you know, Blizzard say that like 60% of their revenue for WoW is not the sub fee. The sub fee is like nothing. 60% of their revenue is microtransactions. It's all microtransactions. Microtransactions are where the money is. So there's an argument there to say basically, hey, why are we even having this big conversation? It doesn't matter. The industry is about fucking MTX. So what? And I think that's fine. But I think the way I view this, that I view the VIP thing or whatever, I view this as insulation. I'm not saying that do a VIP thing and then we'll get this beautiful utopian Guild Wars 2 that never has buy gold for gems, and it never sells mounts, and it never sells skins, and it never can, you know, all that stuff we hate, right? And it doesn't sell boosters and all that shit. I'm not saying that. I think that there probably will be that stuff, and I think that microtransactions are here to stay, and I think there are a lot of really hard questions I'd like to see answered about those. I believe that we'll have microtransactions, even with the VIP. But again, it's not a zero-sum game. The point here is it's insulation. They don't have to push the gem source so hard. They don't have to put so much focus into it. If they have an alternate source of revenue, a stable, comfortable... And you know, I just look at stuff like Fallout First, man. And it's like, why not do that? Why not be that? Fallout 76 is eminently playable without paying that sub. But a lot of people do, and they earn crazy money off of it. The real question with this stuff comes down to pay for convenience and bag space, especially Guild Wars has its bag space. Fallout 76 has it as well. It's quite cynically buried in the systems. You get like this, Kerry's the one to talk to about this, not me. It's like a locker or something, some kind of storage thing that it's infinitely deep if you pay for Fallout First, but it's shallow if you don't. And the way they get you is you pay for Fallout First, or you do a free trial or something, you fill it up with a bunch of in-game crap, and now when you lose it again, you can't deposit anything until you clear all that crap out. And that's a huge, huge chore for people, so they just re-up the sub. So yeah. Oh, look at that. We've gone straight from lore back to sub fees. Another donation. This is amazing. Oh my god, I've never been so profitable. Let's just keep doing this. If you guys keep asking questions with fucking little donos on there, I'll keep going. What we got here? Graph's Tube. $10. Thanks, Graphs. If Doom somewhat recently deposed and Grenth... Sorry, if Doom is somewhat recently deposed and Grenth got his first follower in 48 BE, then the setting will probably be at least some Doom followers being villains. 1,200 years before 1070 AE is 130 BE. Yeah, there you go. Which is really cool. I like that idea. I like that idea that we're a bit further back. Can I just say, though, let's reread this. Talking about Doom being the villain. What do we think about Grenth being the villain? Listen to this again. Came then Desmina, scorned and exiled by her people. Desmina is sounding like a villain immediately. In her misery and her wretchedness, she cursed the gods, the whole pantheon, for abandoning her. All who, like her, admired power and ambition. Admiring power and ambition is not necessarily a heroic trait, right? It can be. You know what we're dealing with here, guys? We're dealing with a Slytherin. She doesn't sound like some picnic. Asketh she, who is the god to whom I may give my undivine devotion? Who is the god to whom I may beg revenge against those who scorn me? She wants to fuck people up. And then rumbled the earth from far below her, and with a terrible groan split open, the ground grew white with frost and ice, and from forth the frozen earth spilled the rotted skeletal minions of Grenth. Appeared then the god, and with bony hands outstretched, welcomed the girl into his fold. Saith he, I am your god. Follow where I lead. Come whence I call. And the rotted corpses of the dead shall be yours to control. And swearing allegiance in life and beyond, did she become his first follower? They don't sound nice. I'm down for a Grenth villain arc, frankly. And look at what they did with Balthazar. Balthazar wasn't remotely this villainous in his scriptures, and they made him a fucking cartoon character of evil, twirling his mustache. I like the idea that Doom is quite reasonable. Do you know what Doom is, guys? Right? Doom has been taking that villain slot a little bit in these two games, but do you know what Doom really is? Doom represents planet Earth. Doom represents us, our universe, our reality. Doom is here today. You die, that's it. There's no resurrection. There's no fucking with people's souls and bringing them back. He's a status quo we can all understand. And people endlessly go on. You know how weird people are about longevity and long life and all that kind of stuff? People get really fucking weird about, oh no, we're destined to get old and die. You should just let yourself age. You should let your hips go and your knees go. You should embrace the dementia. People are fucking weird about that shit. No, let's fight it. Let's fight it, everyone. But, you know, people advocate for that on the real life. Don't be glad. Don't be happy that it's not. Don't be sad that life's not forever. Be happy that it happened. Or what did Sue once say? Mortals are like little flames. Fast, brief, then gone. Or whatever. No, I kind of like Doom's MO. So I like the idea that Grenth is a bit of a party pooper. Oh my god, we are getting donated. What the fuck, guys? Okay. Holy shit. Wow. Thank you guys are so generous. GraphsTube, thanks for that. So there you go. There's your answer about that. Matthew Bridges. Oh, dude, thanks so much. 20 bucks. Just because I love you, dude. You've been churning out content for who knows how many years of my life at this point. I hope life's treating you well. Life has been up and down, I'll tell you that. It's been very up and down. I'm feeling very up at the moment, guys. Wow, thank you. That's so kind of you. Thanks, dude. BR Spees, it's good to see you. $20 there. Timeline question, okay. Right, Guild Wars 2, Malcor lore talks about the gods locking themselves away in a Ra and leaving the public eye before the Exodus. Do we have any concept for how long of a period this was? Right before? Years? Decades? Great question. You know, there's a good reason right now to, instead of just wandering around doing nothing, to actually play the game. Let's see if the Cathedral of Zephyrs is up. Let's go see Malcor. The Pact has control over the Cathedral. But you're totally right. Does John Curtis have anything to say to us? Dude, this fucking place. Do you know what? I love Guild Wars 2. I love this thing when the Ore arc, where you've got like this high fantasy, crazy undead nation, very magical, very mystical, and it's being like sieged by steampunk airships and like squads of Sylvari snipers and stuff. That shit was fucking awesome. Do you know what, guys? If my name was Vlox and I could ascend and I could go back and change the timeline, do you know what I would change? Where would I change the timeline? For the benefit of Guild Wars. I would make Guild Wars 2's original... You're all going to freak out about this, but no, I'm right. I'm right about this. I would go back to Guild Wars 2's launch, and I would have the story end... No, I would go back to about 2011, before they start biting off too much. And I would end the personal story at Claw Island. And I would have Ore and all the subsequent stories as Season 1. So that they have lots of time and lots of budget and lots of energy and lots of effort to really pay off the story. And I would keep personal story branches going. There would have been a Zaitan boss fight immediately from the start. It wouldn't have been like thin, weird stuff. They would have really, really realized that vision. The tanks roaring in on ground. The airships in the sky. The fleets out in the waters. And the personal story does its best. By God, it does its best. It does try. But it never quite nails it, does it? But it's such a fucking brilliant plan. Do you know what? Just a novelization of GW2 would be pretty epic. Anyway, that's what I always think when I think here, because this is where you airdrop down in the golem and start wrecking shit. Kind of a disappointment when you see it up close, huh? What do you mean? That statue of Dwayna, hard to believe that's the face that drove Malcor to take his own life. Why do you find that hard to believe? Maybe it's because I don't believe in the gods, or maybe it's because I prefer my women to be a little more stout. But I look at that image and I don't see any incredible beauty worth dying for. Malcor did that? It said he tried in vain to create a likeness he felt captured Dwayna's true beauty. His obsessive quest finally drove him insane, and he threw himself off a cliff. Stories like this are interesting for Guild Wars 3 because this works beautifully as like romantic poetry, and it works as prose, right? It works written. But how do you actually depict that? You know, there's going to be something kind of cringy about them trying to portray a really beautiful Dwayna, and what that means is that she's got massive tits with incredible jiggle on there or something, you know? And it's like, is that all you can do, really? Like, I'm not going to throw myself off of a cliff for that. You know, I'm more into B-Cup than... Did you get what I mean? Like, as soon as you make it real... But I guess that's what this guy's talking about. Or, you know, to be less juvenile, they give a nose that you don't view as truly beautiful, or a hair color, or an eye color, or whatever. You know, and it can very easily become a bit, what is the word? This is fucking crazy. What is this, man? So yeah, I don't, about them sequestering themselves away, it's a great point. And, you know, earlier I was talking about different eras of ore. We could even say that that's an era of ore, couldn't we? We could say that one of the eras was when the gods were still living there, but they were hidden away in Ara. And they were isolated, and only a few people got to see them. In fact, that probably will be how it feels in Guild Wars 3, right? That way, they don't have to be in the story until Arenanet want them in the story. Maybe, I don't know. That's true anyway, isn't it? I don't know. There's just a difference between, like, Zeus, Master of Olympus, where Dionysus is roaming around among the homesteads and spilling wine on people in the streets, and or everyone just out off in the central city and hiding in the heroes' halls or whatever. We're getting messages in game here as well. Jesus. Okay, hold on. The donating people get priority, I'm afraid. That's right. Vinny the Cleric, £10. That's what I like to see. Great British pounds. Look at those. The Fasura look like the werecats from Scooby-Doo. Return to Zombie Island. Do they really? Not Escape from Zombie Island? Scooby-Doo, Return to Zombie Island. What is it exactly? I'm trying to find it. Werecats. Do they? No way. These are way more anthropomorphic than the things we saw. I'll get it on screen. Hold on one second. I'm sitting here thinking, oh god, what if they copyright claim me for using their pictures? But it's a still image. God, I wonder if this was going to get a bunch of junk copyright on it again. These guys? These werecats? Are these the werecats? Stuart Lee does an amazing stand-up bit about Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. It's basically a bit about how he doesn't have any more material because he's going to become a parent, and all he does is sit and watch that with his son now. His daughter or whatever. What else we got? And thank you again for that. As a fellow person in their mid-30s, says Towels Dreb, you always appreciate me for feeling young. Yeah! High five, dude. This is why it's important that we stay anonymous and we don't do face cam. Because you guys still get to somewhere in the back of your brain, hidden away back there, you get to imagine me as like a little nerdy boy. A weedy little nerdy boy. Alright? And that's not the case. so we get to maintain the illusion. The illusion. That's a very generous donation as well there, by the way. That's £20, man. Thank you for the £20. You are now officially the most generous person of the day, I think, because that's a good, strong currency there. And it's 20 of them. Thank you very, very much. And then lastly, we have Right Ashard, who says, if Proto-Savari are real in Guild Wars 3, then Char will be the only Guild Wars 2 race with no equivalent. None get the Coden if it turns out they came from them. Yeah, you headed me off there at the gates. Yeah, I don't know whether that still counts, really. I don't know whether that counts. But you're right. If you're going to have multiple races and you want like a big boy race, like a big one, then the Coden have kind of filled that slot or whatever. No, I honestly, guys, every single race can be there. The Asura, but a slightly different version because they haven't gone underground yet. The Sylvari, but a slightly different version because it's a different dream. It's a different tree. They're at a different age, a different part of their life cycle. The Char, but they're just reeling from the loss of their Karner. There could be stories about how their Karner is like exiled or something, not even necessarily dead. You know, the story of the Karner is nobody really knows who the true bloodline is, right? Isn't that the thing? Also, the artifact was lost and ended up in Ascalonian hands. So you might see the Ascalonians getting a hold of it. There's lots, the claw. There's so many fantastic things there. The Norn don't really have much going on, but I don't think that's Guild Wars 3's fault. That's Guild Wars 1 and 2's fault for never really doing that much with them. I suppose some of the spirits of the wild are... Ooh, Owl's alive again. Ooh. I don't know. Who am I missing? I'm missing someone. No, I'm not. That's everyone. The Scooby-Doo CGI films are fantastic. Yeah, I love the live-action one from a few years ago. I kind of just want to watch Scooby-Doo again and just see what it was like. The old ones, the Hanna-Barbera ones. But I don't have time to be sitting around watching cartoons. We have Guild Wars to play. I can't believe WP Chat is pay to win. Today it is, apparently. It's pay to skip, all right? You skipped the question queue by doing that. And speaking of which, I think that's it, guys. My throat's sore. I don't want to overdo it. I'm very nervous about overdoing it. All right, I don't want to burn out. There's still so much to talk about. Keep your comments and your thoughts and your questions and all that good stuff coming. There'll be another stream tomorrow. We'll maybe focus on another part of the setting. We'll focus on, you know, whatever you guys want, really. And we'll keep this going. I don't know when this will stop because we've obviously got Melandoom to play. We've got obviously next week when my Reforged interview goes up, I won't be streaming on that day. I'll let you guys just listen to the interview and all the juicy nuggets. Am I reacting to the live stream tomorrow? That's a good question. Should I be doing that? Yeah, tomorrow's the big Q&A. Look, I'll be watching it, obviously. I've not... You'll notice I haven't done that. I don't... It just feels like people... A live stream I really can't pause as it's going. It's not... That's crazy. I can't pause that as that's going. Please react. But what are you not getting out of it? The audio balance has to be perfect. Or I'm just sitting there in silence. I don't know, guys. I just don't get it. I could do a post stream. I still need to do the Guild Wars 2 side stories from the recent update. One's pretty interesting. Yeah, that is that too as well. There is. Don't worry, I've got it written down. Write notes. Post stream sounds good. Yeah, I think I'll probably do a post stream. I think that'll be better. That way everyone can go to the actual... Because there's that whole thing about the audience getting split as well. Everyone goes to the actual stream. The actual Guild Wars 2 stream. You guys watch it. I'll be there in chat. And then we'll go... and I'll be there in Discord chat and all that. And then we'll do a post stream. I don't know what time during the day that is. But that sounds better. Yeah, okay. So big news tomorrow, hopefully. In fact, this could be huge. Everything might change. We might hear confirmation about all kinds of different things. We'll hear about loads of shit. We're lonely. We want you as company. I know, right? I know. Guys, you've all been really generous there. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this little lore section was good. And I'll see you tomorrow, all right? Take care of yourselves. Have a good evening. Log back in and play the game. If you guys are interested in joining the Spud Club, throw me a mail. If you want to be playing as the Hall of Monuments 2.0 comes out and all that shit, and you want to see the updates, and you want to catch up on the mini-X backstories that you've clearly skipped over the past few years, because I know a lot of you quit with End of Dragons, and I know a lot of you quit with the Icebrood Saga Dragonstorm, and I know a lot of you guys quit after fucking Heart of Thorns even. I know a lot of you quit in Season 1. I know a lot of you guys quit at launch. You're all back now. Happy families. Come on into the group hug. It's called Spud. There are links in the description. Oh yeah, also join the Discord. I'm being a bit more aggressive about pinging people now so that they actually see you when I'm online, which I haven't been doing for years. Yeah, and there's some shirt they're giving away on Twitch. I don't know. All right, take care, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. I want to do the outro this way. Just because I love it so much.
But if you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise magic.
Yeah, the Chud Club. Join the Chud Club if you've got an eye for fine potatoes.